Chapter 1364. Dustless suddenly felt that these two little female dragons were extremely interesting. He blinked his eyes and asked, according to my personal guess, the relationship between the two of you seems to be unusual. Is there some kind of connection? The infinite dragon god Orpheus and the Great Red lowered their heads at the same time. In fact, when Orpheus was chased out of the dimensional crevice, Dustless was extremely curious. This was because the strength of the two dragon gods was almost the same. If they fought, it might cause the world to collapse. It was impossible for the Great Red to chase Orpheus away with brute force unless she risked the danger of the entire world being destroyed. Of course, there was another possibility. Perhaps Orpheus had deliberately left the dimensional crevice. According to Dustless's guess, although the possibility of this was extremely small, it was the most logical. I've been in the dimensional crevice for too long. I just wanted to see the outside world, but you evil dragon took advantage of the situation to rob my hometown and, your hometown? Nonsense. You and I were born in the same period. You don't have the right to monopolize the dimensional crevice. The name of the infinite dragon god Orpheus is also not written in the dimensional crevice. You're talking nonsense. Bullsh *t. Orpheus, who had transformed into a human, and the Great Red were spitting at each other. They were fighting until their faces were red. Dustless didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at the two dragon gods who had entered a catfight mode. He couldn't help but feel that the affairs of the world were unpredictable. Perhaps everyone in the world thought that these two were existences that would fight to the death. However, the scene in front of him had probably refreshed the world's understanding. Do as you wish. The two of them probably wouldn't stop anytime soon. Dustless shook his head and decisively turned to leave. The matter between these two little female dragons was not something he could participate in. The air in the underworld smells better. Just say that it's filled with the smell of decay and death. Looking down at the blue sky under his feet, the densely packed cities were especially small, like grains of sand. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Dustless's body swept out thousands of gorgeous rays of light, and then he disappeared. He charged straight toward the territory of the Gimli family. At this moment, the other side was in the midst of public discussion. You're saying that the guy called Dustless crippled Loki and his pet Fenrir? Did I hear wrongly? Let me repeat it again. A guy called Dustless crippled Loki and his pet, Fenrir? The white-haired old man's eyeballs were about to pop out of their sockets. Yes, Sir Odin. The mature young lady nodded and answered seriously. When she answered, she also felt that everything she saw before was just an illusion. I saw it with my own eyes. I saw Dustless defeat Lord Loki. Lord Loki and Fenrir were both half dead, especially Fenrir. It's doubtful if she can survive. Losvia pursed her lips and answered seriously. What kind of monster is it? It's already a miracle for a person to be able to survive when facing Luo Shen and the god-killing wolf Fenrir alone. He was almost killed by Loki and Fenrir. What kind of monster is that? From what you said, he can use skills with light. Could he be Jehovah? The old muddle-headed Odin said in disbelief. The crowd stared with their eyes and mouths agape. Their breathing grew heavier. The head of the Supernatural Research Lab, Lias Gemengli, Junai Himajima, Kitten, Genova, and the others were all there. There was also Gilifia, Lias' mother, Vaini Lana, Demon King Sazax, and two other Demon Kings. If it's that guy. It sounds exaggerated and unbelievable, but one thing is for sure. He's the only one who can do such a thing. The fallen angel governor, Asashel, who had witnessed Dustless's strength, said. He frowned and recalled, Dustless beat the white dragon emperor who was in Tyrannosaurus mode as easily as bullying a child. I personally think it's possible that he could beat Loki and Fenrir so badly. I think so too. He's very strong. Vaini Lana, who was Lias' mother, said with a smile in her eyes, after all, he's Lias' fiancé. It's necessary for him to be able to beat a god. Similarly, this is also the basic requirement for being my lover. Vaini Lana added in her heart. However, some were happy, and some were sad. Some were happy, and some were depressed. That pervert can't really be the main god of the angels, right? The demon king Seraphil, who was currently the Leviathan, said gloomily. She was once forcefully pushed down by Dustless and almost couldn't get up for a few days. This matter had become a knot in her heart. In her heart, she had already labeled Dustless as a must-kill. Now that he was so strong, how could Seraphil endure it? How could she take revenge in the future? Could it be that she could just let it go and watch Dustless show off in front of her? Absolutely not. All in all, let's talk about Dustless later. For now, let's sign a peace agreement, Lord Odin. The sharp-eyed topic showed signs of derailing. Sazax had to talk about business again. Compared to the alliance of several parties, this was a trivial matter. That's true. Odin nodded. Just as he was about to agree, an untimely sharp voice came. Old thief Odin, I didn't agree. Who allowed you to sign such a boring agreement? I firmly refuse to sign such an agreement. A blue light appeared in the space, and a huge magic circle appeared. A man with a cold and gloomy expression stepped out of it. Loki? Everyone frowned, but when they saw Loki, who was covered in injuries, they laughed. Chapter 1365. It was no wonder that everyone was laughing. Loki was covered in wounds, his face was swollen, and there were even bandages on some parts of his body. This kind of situation was normal for a human, but if the other party was a god, it was too funny. At the same time, everyone understood that Losvias was telling the truth. Loki's injuries were proof that the culprit was Dustless. Humph, how dare you guys laugh at me, Loki was furious. That hearty laughter was like a slap to his old face. It stung. Idiot, if you go back now, I'll let bygones be bygones, Odin said in a powerful tone. As the main god of Norse mythology, Odin had the right to be arrogant. Although he was old, his strength was undeniable. Let bygones be bygones? How arrogant. I'll hold you accountable. Loki sneered. He was not afraid of Odin at all. Seems like it's more lively than I thought. A frivolous tone was heard. Then, in the center of the hall, a large amount of light came from all directions. Dustless's body was faintly discernible. D*MNU. Why are you still alive? Loki's expression changed drastically. At the same time, he instinctively took a step back. He thought Dustless was dead. That's why he came to cause trouble. I didn't expect this unkillable cockroach to still be so popular. Could it be that the most powerful existence in the legends, the Great Red, is no match for this D*MN bastard? When he thought of this, Loki's heart trembled. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Dense magic bullets shot out from Loki's hand. His target was the golden light. Boom, boom, boom. Loud explosions followed. Dustless, who had been compressed into his human form, was inevitably blown to pieces. You bastard. The girls from the Paranormal Research Department glared at him. Although they were sure that the godlike Dustless would not be killed, Loki was despicable. It was despicable for him to want to kill Dustless before he could transform. It was against the will of a god. However, Loki himself didn't care. The dignity of a god was no longer important to him. As long as he could get rid of this eyesore who had a deep hatred for him, dignity wasn't important. Everyone attacked together. Riaz looked around with her beautiful eyes. The members of the Paranormal Research Department were showing off their prowess. They had gone through a lot of training during this period, and their strength had increased greatly. Lei Guang. Whoosh. 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 The dazzling magic attacks all landed on Loki's body, but he was completely fine. In the face of the endless attacks, he did not dodge or evade. He only relied on the hardness of his body to withstand the insignificant attacks with a calm expression. I'm a god. You bunch of small fries want to hurt me? Do you think this is a comedy movie? How vulgar. Loki sneered disdainfully. His face was full of arrogance, and he was extremely arrogant. They can't, but what about me? Dustless's cold voice resounded behind Loki. He suddenly turned around and attacked Loki with a cold and merciless kick. Loki's body was immediately sent flying. The villa used for the gathering was even penetrated. You're just a loser, and you still dare to be so arrogant. Even if you want to cause trouble, you should know who you are. Dustless stared at Loki, who was kicked away, and suddenly suspected that this guy's head was broken. Last time, he let him go because he was chasing the Great Red. He thought that this guy could recognize his strength, but he didn't expect that this guy dared to take the initiative to provoke him. I'm thinking. What would happen if a god was killed? Dustless asked lightly. His words made everyone's expression change drastically. Even Sazax, who had been silent all this time, frowned slightly. Gulp, that's amazing. I didn't misjudge him. The offspring with him must be much better than Sazax and Ria's. Venerana's eyes were filled with lust, and her whole body exuded a seductive aura. Dustless showed his prowess and sent Loki, who was known as a god, flying with a kick. It was unforgettable. It was as if by following the man in front of her, the whole world was in her hands. At the same time, Seraph's heart was broken into pieces. She knew that it was impossible for her to take revenge. Loki was kicked to the point where he couldn't even tell his direction. If it were her, she wouldn't be much stronger. You be asterisk starred. What happened to my mouth? Loki's old face twitched violently. He found that he couldn't even speak clearly. It was as if someone had stuffed something in his throat. It was extremely difficult to call out Dustless's name. Idiot, haven't you realized yet? Your face is crooked from my kick. Ignoring Loki's hateful eyes that wanted to eat him alive, Dustless explained while mocking him. Don't worry, at most, you can't speak clearly. You can still eat. You won't starve to death. Pfft. Hearing that, Riaz and the others couldn't help but laugh out loud. Their seductive looks hooked the worm in Dustless's stomach. His eyes gleamed as he stared at the group of beautiful women. I'm engaged to Riaz. I've already gotten her old lover, Venerana, and her sister-in-law, Gilifia. It would be a waste to leave her, the first wife, alone. With a decision in his mind, Dustless planned to take away Riaz's most precious thing after he dealt with Loki. They were already engaged anyway, and it wouldn't matter if their relationship took another step forward. Chapter 1366. Dustless looked at Riaz with a restless mind. Even though he had seen and even touched every part of her body, in the end, the last layer of membrane was still not torn off. This time, I must completely tear apart the barrier between you and me. Dustless smiled foolishly, as if he had fallen into endless reverie. Full of loopholes. Loki saw that Dustless was in a daze and immediately realized that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He gathered all the magic in his body and turned it into a large number of magic circles. Vroom vroom vroom, every magic circle was shining and pulsing, and the destructive light was terrifying. The power of a single magic circle could easily destroy a green mountain, let alone hundreds and thousands of them. It was not difficult to see Loki's hatred for Dustless. How is this guy a god? He's despicable and shameless, and now he's scheming. Riaz's people were furious. Dustless was floating in the sky, and no one knew what he was thinking. There was a smile on his face, and sometimes there was a wretched smile. Obviously, he had fallen into endless fantasy. Die. You are sent by the heavens to go against this god. Disappear with my hatred for you. As soon as he said that, the thousands of magic circles shot out a bright light at the same time. However, Dustless still did not react. Dustless, listen to me, Riaz, who was panicking, quickly shouted at Dustless. Her face was red, and she finally gritted her teeth. If you can defeat Loki this time, you can do whatever you want to me, and I won't resist. Gulp. This was the sound of nature, the words that Dustless had always wanted to hear, and finally pulled his thoughts out of his fantasy. He looked at the incoming flashes and curled his lips in disdain. I've said it before. Loki, you're just a child in my eyes. As soon as he said that, a large amount of chakra energy waves erupted from Dustless's body. Vroom vroom vroom. The silent earth suddenly trembled, and a blazing aura seeped out. This seems to be the temperature of magma, everyone retreat quickly. Aware of the danger, Sazax ordered loudly. At the same time, he did not forget to retreat. Uchiha flame formation. A transparent barrier rose from the ground, sealing off the entire sky. The flame barrier trembled, emitting a huge destructive power. Anything that got close to it was destroyed, and even steel was melted into water. The scene was extremely horrifying. The flame barrier, which was several dozen meters tall, radiated a lethal temperature. Even from several hundred meters away, one could feel the scorching heat of the flame cage. If one was careless, they would be caught in the crossfire. Hua hua hua. As for those flashing magic bombs, they were even more miserable. Not to mention Dustless, who was behind the enchantment was evaporated before it could even touch it. Not only that, but Loki himself was also heavily injured. His whole body was black, and his pure white clothes were burned full of stains. His image was ruined, and what was even more hilarious was that Loki's hairstyle, which was considered good in front of him, was burned by Dustless until not a single hair was left. Loki's gorgeous head became bald. Yo yo yo. Why did Lord Loki become like this? It shouldn't be. Could it be? Our respected goddess Sama is cosplaying? I didn't expect you to have such interests, and such a strong taste. You actually chose to dress up as a beggar. Seeing Loki's embarrassed appearance, Dustless joked with a smile. It's one thing for you to be shockingly strong, but even your mouth is so vicious. You're the only one who gets all the good things. God is really unfair. Loki said in a gloomy and depressed voice. He looked at his whole body, and it was indeed no different from a strange appearance. His trousers were burned, and his long black legs were exposed. He was also burned bald, and his face was dark. He was indeed a serious beggar. Seeing this, Loki was furious. He was a dignified god, but he was beaten by Dustless into a beggar. His broken heart was broken even more thoroughly. All turned into powder. Hee hee. Although I am no match for you, but... Ha ha ha, they are definitely no match for me. Loki laughed arrogantly. At this point, he had already given up on the idea of defeating Dustless, because it was completely overconfident. There was no other way but to humiliate himself. So, Loki set his sights on Ryaz and the others. If he couldn't defeat the big one, he could bully the small one. This bastard has disgraced the Norse gods. Seeing this, Odin was so angry that his old face turned green. He had never seen a god as despicable as Loki, and he understood Loki's glowing eyes the best. He can't defeat Dustless, so he chose to attack his fiancée. What a despicable method. Asashel and the others frowned. They were extremely disgusted by the evil god Loki. This bastard was too shameless. Damn it, Dustless naturally noticed Loki's abnormality at the first moment, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Hee hee hee. Your opponent is not me, now it's a different person. Loki smiled mysteriously, and then he snapped his fingers very calmly. The bright sky suddenly turned dark, and a big silver wolf descended from the sky, opening his stinky mouth to bite Dustless. My opponent is Ryaz Jimenez and the others, and your opponent is Fenrir. No, it should be Fenrir who is holding you back. He is far from being your opponent, but the short time Fenrir is holding you back is enough for me to kill Ryaz Jimenez and her family. Loki thought confidently, but in the next second, the sky inexplicably began to rain blood. Poochie. Fenrir, who Loki trusted and used to stall for time, was instantly killed by Dustless. Chapter 1367. Blood was raining down from the sky, and the stench spread to every corner of the sky. Everyone looked at Fenrir, who was lying on the ground in disbelief. Fenrir, who had once swallowed a deity, was now killed by an exaggerated sword strike. Just how abnormal was Dustless' original body? This was not tofu that could be cut open in an instant. This was a god. A hungry wolf that had once swallowed a god. And it was such a deity that had devoured a deity, but now he was actually killed by Dustless in such an easy manner. That casual and simple appearance gave people the illusion that he was violently beating up a child. It was simply unbelievable. Unforgivable. Loki was dumbfounded. Fenrir's body that had been split into two did not scare him away. Instead, it made Loki's heart ache. He clenched his teeth so hard that they were broken. "You have to be buried with Fenrir, you damn bastard!" Loki roared like a psychopath. His words revealed a hysterical brutality. This ferocious beast was completely enraged by Dustless's cruel means. His partner that he had spent all his time with was split into two. Loki's heart had already gone berserk. His hatred for Dustless and the others had also climbed to an unprecedented level. "You still don't want to give up?" Facing Loki's ferocious gaze, Dustless just pursed his lips and smiled. "Go to hell." Loki roared crazily, his tone was a little sharp. Boom. 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 His shrill voice echoed in the sky. Whoosh. Whoosh. However, this guy said that he would tear Dustless into pieces and burn his bones to ashes, but his actions were despicable beyond imagination. He knew that he was no match for Dustless, so he turned into a ray of light and rushed towards Riaz and the others. His speed in the blink of an eye was not any slower than the speed of light. "Idiot, you are digging your own grave." Seeing this, the main god of Norse mythology, Odin, cursed in his heart. Capture Riaz to threaten Dustless? Frankly speaking, this was a good plan, and it was the only way out for Loki at the moment. However, he had neglected the most important thing. Doing so would truly enrage Dustless, a super mythological beast that could destroy the world. Ggggg ha 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 ha. A series of strange laughter came out of Loki's mouth. Loki was so excited that he seemed to be dancing. "Fenrir's hatred is because you women first what? Poochie." The cold voice stopped Loki. His ferocious smile froze on his face, and he suddenly felt a stabbing pain in his arm. Loki was stunned and looked over subconsciously. Blood continuously spurted out from his left arm. "This is only the beginning. I originally wanted to give you a dignified death, but you didn't cherish it, so who can you blame?" Dustless asked back. At the same time, he took out a dark red flaming katana. The blade was wrapped in a large amount of high-density flames, making it impossible for people to rely on it. Bankai Remnant Flame Tachi. Following Dustless's command, the blade of the Tachi changed once again, and all the flames disappeared. However, the tip of the blade only emitted a wisp of steam, and the raging flames seemed to have been extinguished. What's going on? Asashel, Sazax, and even Odin, the main god of the Norse mythology system, exclaimed with solemn expressions. What's wrong? The naturally naive kitten was confused. Not only her, but Riaz and the others were also confused. Why are they all so serious? Is there anything wrong? Hito Ichijo was also confused. He just felt that the weather had become hotter and was a little uncomfortable. As time went by, he felt more and more uncomfortable. That guy used some kind of powerful attack. The water in the entire world is mysteriously evaporating for some reason. Maybe it has something to do with that weapon. That bastard called Loki has really angered him. He's going to bring bad luck to the entire world. The Red Dragon Emperor's gauntlet emitted an emerald glow, and Drake's voice followed. This guy is going to destroy the world? Hearing this, Bingting took a deep breath and asked in disbelief, so you're saying that if Dustless and Loki fight, this world will collapse sooner or later? Should we leave the underworld in advance? Or else we'll be dragged into it. If there was danger in the underworld, they could just run away or stay away from the center of the battle. You idiot, you can feel it too. The water in your body is rapidly evaporating. Don't move. That scary man only needs to stand still, and the world will be destroyed. The water in our bodies will also rapidly evaporate, and will become dry corpses. Drake said unhappily. Hito Ichijo was too naive and ignorant. At the same time, the environment of the underworld was also changing rapidly. Everyone was shocked to find that the blood flowing in their bodies was disappearing at an accelerated rate. The moist ground was slowly drying up, and shocking cracks were appearing. The flowers and trees were also withering at an accelerated rate. The entire world was shrouded in a shadow. Some people even found out that they could slowly die before they could even figure out their enemy. Wu Chen's original body stood quietly in the void, holding the Zenka no Tachi in his hand. He didn't need to make any extra movements. Sooner or later, all the water in the world would evaporate, and the underworld might be completely destroyed. Loki was also terrified. He used Dustless as an example. Recently, he had felt the sharpness of Zenka no Tachi the most. The ugly charred blade could not be touched, or one would be burned alive. For a moment, he even forgot about the pain of losing his arm. Chapter 1368. The sharpness of Zenka no Tachi swept across the world. This was the oldest and most powerful Zenka no Tachi. Its temperature was enough to flatten the world. All the creatures in the underworld sensed that their bodies were evaporating rapidly. Even the so-called gods were no exception. They couldn't escape the curse of Zenka no Tachi. What's going on? Is this all because of that weapon? Loki's face twitched. To be honest, he didn't have the confidence to fight Dustless anymore. That's good stuff. If I had such a powerful weapon, even the infinite dragon god and the great red wouldn't be able to defeat me. Loki sobbed. His face was filled with greed. You can't even keep your life, and you still want Zenka no Tachi? You're right, the ignorant are fearless. Dustless's emotionless eyes looked at Loki. In his eyes, Loki was already a dead body. I'll take your weapon. That kind of weapon is only suitable for a god like me. In order to resist the pressure and impact of Zenka no Tachi, Loki's body was covered with dense magic arrays. He pounced on Dustless fiercely. You want to die so fast? Dustless shook his head. He waved Zenka no Tachi again, an array of hot sword energy whizzed out. Zenka no Tachi, north, ashes of heaven and earth. Loki's eyes were filled with excitement. He could already see Odin and the infinite dragon god trembling in fear when he swept across the world with Zenka no Tachi. Even when the blade slashed at him, he ignored it completely. With so many magic arrays protecting me, it shouldn't be a problem. Loki comforted himself. He set up a large number of defensive magic arrays on his body, and he was confident that he could temporarily resist the sharpness of Zenka no Tachi. However, Loki immediately regretted it in the next second. Boom boom boom. A violent explosion suddenly sounded. Zenka no Tachi's blade tore apart the magic arrays on Loki's body in an invincible manner. Deadly flames came into contact with Loki's body. Poof! Loki's remaining right arm was mercilessly chopped off. Even his shoulder was fatally injured. A large part of it was burned. Bang bang bang. Rocky, who had suffered a heavy blow, lost his balance and fell to the ground. Hee hee, Loki sneered uncharacteristically. I curse you, Anne. Don't be naive. Stretch out your neck and accept your punishment. Any attack of yours is just a joke to me. Dustless spoke in an indifferent tone. Although he was incomparably arrogant and didn't put a god in his eyes, no one dared to stand out and oppose him. They just wanted this farce to end quickly, otherwise all of them might be buried with Loki. Zen Flame Tachi, West, Broken Sun Prison Robe. The golden flames revolved around Dustless's body and did not disperse. Everything that came into contact with Dustless was vaporized by the high temperature of 1,500 degrees. In this state, Dustless was invincible, and all the attacks that came into contact with him were annihilated. That's all there is to it. No one has managed to kill me. Even though he had lost his arms, Loki still stood up and mocked Dustless. I am a god. In front of me, you are nothing. Dustless continued to move forward and murmured, you are still alive, and that is my mercy. The reason why I have kept you alive until now is to make an example out of those who want to harm Rias and Junai. This is what will happen to them. You will die with your limbs cut off. Dustless announced cruelly, and then darted in front of Loki and swung Zen Flame Tachi. Splat! Splat! Loki's legs were mercilessly cut off by Dustless, and he rolled on the ground in agony. Disappear, Loki. Looking at Loki who was in agony, Dustless decided to send him to heaven, and be a good person until the end. Sir, please wait a moment. Seeing that Dustless was about to kill the god of his own pantheon, Odin's old face suddenly felt embarrassed. If Loki was killed by Dustless like a dog, how could the gods of Norse mythology survive in the future? What's the matter? As long as it's not about letting Loki go, just say it. Dustless turned his head and glanced at Loki, labeling him as a must-kill. Ugh, Odin almost bit his tongue when he heard that, and the words that were about to come out of his mouth stopped abruptly. He looked at Dustless a little woodenly, and obviously wanted to say something to plead for Loki. If you are pleading for Loki, then I am sorry. I can understand why he wants to kill me, but the despicable people who plotted against my women must suffer my sky-burning fire. Dustless still insisted, and there was no room for negotiation. Arg, do you think I will thank you? Odin, you old bastard. At this moment, Loki's hysterical roar came, and he glared at Odin with fire in his eyes. If he did not insist on forming an alliance, none of this would have happened today. In the end, it was this old guy's fault for being reckless, and he had to admit that he was defeated by Dustless. After all, he was not strong enough, and he was really no match for Dustless's strength that could shatter mountains with a raise of his hand. Even now, you still insist on your point of view? There must be no cure, Loki. After sighing, Odin closed his eyes, implying that he acquiesced to Dustless killing Loki. Disappear, the so-called god. 96 of Tao Breaker, 1 blade cremation. The blade-shaped flame rose from the ground, engulfing Loki in one fell swoop and completely erased him. Chapter 1369. The scene fell into a dead silence. Everyone looked at Dustless in fear and involuntarily took a few steps back. It was not that they were cowards, but this guy was just too brutal. He killed a god just like that. His swift and decisive means shocked everyone. Especially after Dustless showed his original appearance with Zenka no Tachi, everyone was afraid and in awe of him. Compared to Dustless, who was a superhuman with a cheat code, demons and gods were nothing. Let's end this here. Let's all get along in the future. Odin smiled, but it looked a little forced. Well, it was true. A god of the Norse mythology system was killed right in front of him. He was indeed embarrassed. However, although he was unhappy, Odin could only swallow it and endure it. Firstly, it was Loki's problem to begin with. Secondly, Dustless was not hostile to the gods of the Norse mythology system. On the contrary, Odin had heard that the relationship between Lothveus and Dustless was barely okay. This was another relationship card. And the most important factor was that Odin had witnessed Dustless's godlike strength with his own eyes. He could not help but feel fear. It was as simple as beating up a child. I'm sorry, Lord Odin. I didn't expect this banquet to turn out like this. Sazax walked over with an apologetic look. Was he really wrong? Of course not. He was just trying to make Loki feel better. After all, a Norse god had just died. No need to care. Loki deserved it. Odin waved his hand. Sazax did not need to care about such a small matter. At the same time, he insisted, let's sign the alliance agreement soon. Everyone must work together to deal with the threat of Calamity Mass. Deal with Calamity Mass? Hearing this, Dustless looked at Odin with interest. These words were equivalent to going against him. After all, whether it was the infinite dragon god Orpheus or the Great Red, they were all on Dustless's side. Now, they were all in the same trench. Forget it, a great person will not hold a grudge against a petty person like you. I won't lower myself to your level. Dustless did not say anything. He walked leisurely toward Riaz and the others, ignoring the prying eyes of others. The next morning. After yesterday's battle, Dustless, who was deeply fatigued, was in a deep sleep. He didn't even notice the person who had ambushed him. When he woke up the next morning, the big bed was already filled with people. What's going on? We've been ambushed. Dustless was speechless when he opened his eyes. He realized that his left and right hands were held tightly by Aisha and Riaz. His left and right legs were also being measured by Genova and Wisteria Rena. And the worst thing was that he found a beautiful body sleeping on his stomach. This is Junai. What do you want? Are we mobilizing the entire club? Dustless could not help but smile bitterly when he saw this. His being taken apart was not the worst part. He suddenly realized that his back was aching, and there were all kinds of lip marks all over his body. What the F***ck? If I knew you guys were going to ambush me, I wouldn't have fallen asleep. I didn't even feel anything. What a loss. Dustless grumbled in annoyance. At the same time, he gently shook off the women's hold. Looking at the marks all over his body, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. He could only go take a bath again. Early in the morning, in the hot spring of the Gimli family, Dustless thought that there would be no one. However, he did not expect to see 3 vague silhouettes in the steam. Forget it. I'll come back later. Dustless frowned and decided to leave. Era. We're not tigresses. As the son-in-law of the Gimli family, don't you think that you have to communicate with Riaz's sister-in-law and her mother, Lord Shen? A seductive and teasing tone came from the steam. Dustless could already see a perfect body. Sorry, Auntie. Why are you here? Wu Chen's slightly bored face lit up. He found an unexpected figure, and his pupils widened a little in an instant. Her silver hair was like a white ribbon. It was very soft. Even though she had been soaked in the hot spring water, her perfect silhouette was impeccable. Her tall nose made her look even cuter. Especially her face, which was still blushing, looked very shy and attractive. One could not help but want to take a bite and taste her fragrance. This guy changes women too quickly. He used to look at me with those perverted eyes. Now, he ignores my existence and treats me like air, Riaz's mother, Vainilana, said with a sour tone. She turned to look at the silver-haired girl in front of her. Her eyes were filled with jealousy. The change is hard to accept. Gulifia nodded in agreement. It didn't make sense for a peerless demon to ignore her and Vainilana, who were barely covered in clothes. Ahem. Losvase, I didn't expect to see you here. What a coincidence. Dustless calmly sat beside Losvase. The girl's fragrance immediately entered his nose. I was a bit tired yesterday, so I came to relax. Who knew you would come too? Losvase blushed. She wanted to put some distance between her and Dustless. But when she remembered the mission left by their main god, Odin, she could not help but have a headache. It was very troublesome. Losvase finally compromised with the mission. Not only did she not put some distance between her and Dustless, she even purposely moved closer. Because they were so close, they could feel each other's body temperature and the touch of their skin. It could not be helped. They were too close. This unusual action made Gulifia and Vainilana frown. A hint of displeasure flashed in their eyes. Chapter 1370. Lothia's face blushed like a ripe apple. Her body was still filled with a seductive fragrance. She seemed to have noticed the invisible hostility from Vainilana and Gulifia. Awkwardness flashed across her face. He inwardly exclaimed, Sir Odin, the missions you give aren't easy to complete. A few hours ago, in Odin's room. The Norse main god Odin was sitting in front of the window. The bright sun shone on him. It was warm and comfortable. He was enjoying his tea. Standing beside him was none other than Rose Viace. "What do you think of Dustless, Lothia?" After a while, Odin opened his turbid eyes and stared at Lothia's face for a few seconds. Him. Hearing this, Lothwise could not help but frown deeply. She said bluntly, "He's not bad, and he's very strong. The only flaw is that he has too many women." "Too many women? That's not a problem. That's the privilege of the strong," Odin said disapprovingly. In his eyes, this was not a flaw. It was just a small matter. Everyone loved beauty. The only thing that people didn't dare to compliment was that Wu Chen's heart was a little too broad. If all the women gathered together, they could form a reinforced company. Putting down the teacup in his hand, Odin said seriously, "I have an important mission for you. It's related to the survival of the Norse mythological system." "Lord Odin. Even if I die, I'll give you the mission." Lothia nodded seriously. She was so touched that she was about to cry. She did not expect Odin to value her so much that he would give her such an important mission. "Very good." Odin beamed a satisfied smile and said seriously, "You go and seduce that kid Wu Chen. With my vicious fiery gold eyes, I can see that he's interested in you. If you seduce him, you'll get twice the result with half the effort." Plop. Hearing this, Lothwise lost her balance and fell to the ground. Her beautiful eyes looked at Odin speechlessly. Her angry eyes were clearly saying, "I'm going to die generously. So you want me to seduce him? Lord Odin, what does the life and death of the gods in the Norse mythology system have to do with him? With your existence, is he stronger than you?" Lothia stood up and asked in confusion. Hearing this, Odin's expression of enjoyment instantly disappeared and was replaced with a solemn expression. "First of all, I'm already old. I'm not as good as the young ones. Secondly, even if I were to face him at my peak, it would probably be a one-sided annihilation. There wouldn't be any battle experience." Odin sighed. His tone was filled with melancholy. Time was unforgiving, and it was time for him to be buried in peace. There was no such thing as eternal immortality. Phew. In other words, Sir Odin is still confident in defeating Dustless. Hearing this, Lothwise revealed a joyful expression, but there was a faint dissatisfaction in her heart. "You've misunderstood what I meant." Odin rolled his eyes and smiled bitterly. He opened the window and said frankly, "I'm saying that the one who would be annihilated in the end is me, not Dustless. In other words, I'm not his match." Lothia's beautiful eyes widened. She could not help but pause and lower her head. "Then why is he still so respectful when speaking to Lord Odin?" Lothia asked in confusion. If Dustless's strength was far beyond Odin's, there was no need for him to respect him. After all, this was a world where the strong were respected. "Maybe it's because I'm old," Odin said without hesitation. Then, he snorted. "Not everyone is like that idiot Loki, who thinks that he can look down on everyone just because he's strong. He deserved to be killed. That's why it's important to hook up with Dustless. The two of you are familiar with each other, and he has feelings for you. The future world is ever-changing, and there are countless strong people in this world. If you can become one of his wives, the Norse mythological system will have another layer of security in the future." Odin said seriously. Loki's incident had taught Odin a lesson. There were too many strong people in this world. One day, some ignorant bastard might provoke an unprecedented person. Loki was an example. If that person were to vent his anger on the Norse mythological system, Dustless's role as a relative would come in handy. Sigh. Lord Odin's mission is so embarrassing. Lothia, who was in the hot spring, was helpless. She and Dustless could even feel each other's skin rubbing against each other. The benefits are coming so soon. Sensing Lothia's strange behavior, Dustless was confused. Hee hee. No matter what, I'm a bastard who doesn't take advantage of her. Since she's already in my mouth, I'll take her first. Dustless smiled with joy. Suddenly, a light flashed in his mind. The after effects of yesterday's battle with Loki are coming. My head hurts, and my body is seriously exhausted. It's so uncomfortable. Dustless's face was pale, and his body was shaking. Then, under the gaze of Vainilana and Gilifia. Then, he fell into Lothvia's arms. This is too fake. Vainilana and Gilifia were speechless. They had witnessed the fierce battle between Dustless and Loki that day. Although Loki was called a god, he was beaten up by Dustless. He didn't suffer at all, and the after effects were nonsense. Chapter 1371. Hearing that, Dustless smiled and did not say anything, lying comfortably in Lothvia's arms. Ayaya. Really, that bastard Loki really hit me hard. My body is still sore. The gods of your Norse mythology system are really strong. Dustless complained as he gently rubbed his sore arms and made a painful expression. His eyes rolled around Lothvia, and finally, a sly expression flashed across his face. Staring at Lothvia's dark red cheeks, Dustless deliberately laid in her arms and rubbed against her. Aya! Lothvia exclaimed. The towel she used to cover the important parts of her body had been knocked off by Dustless's tumbling. Her body was exposed. Even so, remembering Odin's order, Lothvia did not push Dustless away. This guy must be doing it on purpose. He was obviously suppressing Loki, and Loki, who is far away in the underworld, is crying in the toilet. Lothvia was helpless. Remembering Odin's order, she could only let it be. She was doing this for the gods of the Norse mythology system. Not only that, but Lothvia's delicate hands were also circling around Dustless, taking the initiative to massage his shoulders. She looked like a pretty girl from a humble family, making people want to take pity on her. This bastard. Forgetting his old love when he has a new one, Venlana complained. Doesn't she know that I'm her mother-in-law? Venlana complained, her tone filled with jealousy. Doesn't she know that I'm her mother-in-law? How dare he do it with other people in front of me? Arrogant guy, I must tell Rias to punish you. Although her words sounded nice, Venlana was actually helpless. She could only protest verbally. She believed that Rias was also helpless against Dustless's personality. It was impossible to tame this kind of person. That old guy Odin should have said something to you, right? Dustless, who was lying in Lothvia's arms, opened his eyes and looked into her clear eyes. His bright eyes seemed to be able to see through everyone's thoughts. I want to hand it over to Lord Odin. Lothvia grabbed a handful of silver and said bluntly, Lord Odin did want to hand me over to you. At this point, Lothvia stared at Dustless with a slightly nervous expression. I'll lie. Another one who wants to marry me, Dustless made a distressed expression. He understood Odin's thoughts. Humans were like this. Once they were strong, they would be coveted by everyone. What are your plans? Rejected? Lothwise asked. Of course not. Our relationship is so close. How could I let you go to that rotten old man Odin's place to suffer? Dustless put on a don't worry expression and said with bad intentions, however, having more people means more mouths to feed. Our family's expenses have long been seriously over the limit. When the time comes, I might be forced to work outside by Zhu Nai. As the initiator, shouldn't you compensate me now? Staring at Lothvia's voluptuous body, Dustless's smile was extremely perverted. Ahem. You two should at least pay attention. Don't treat me and Lady Venelana like air. Especially since you are Ria's fiancé. You should pay more attention to your image. Gilifia stood up and scolded Dustless, her face serious. This woman is really unreasonable when she's in work mode. Dustless looked at Gilifia in confusion. He was impressed by her professionalism. It was not easy to be in work mode no matter the time and place. However, it was useless against Dustless. Not only that, but he even teased, Miss Gilifia, could it be that you're jealous of Lothias? If you don't mind, you can use my legs. In your dreams. Gilifia's face flashed with anger. Dustless's teasing gaze made her uncomfortable. Her face was as red as an apple, almost dripping blood. You are now the son-in-law of the Gimli family. You represent the Gimli family's image. Gilifia reiterated solemnly. This woman is always making things difficult for me. I have to teach her a lesson. Dustless's ears were about to grow calluses from Gilifia's nagging every day. Hee. Dustless's eyes flashed with a smug smile. His powerful mental force rushed into Gilifia's mind. Do you need a back rub? This is one of my responsibilities as a maid. Gilifia's words were shocking. Gilifia's expression changed instantly. Her stern expression was replaced by a gentle one. Her gaze towards Dustless was also filled with gentleness. Dustless used an illusion to change Gilifia's vision, making her think that he was Sazax. Gilifia. Are you not feeling well? Or are your eyes playing tricks on you? Riaz's mother, Venelana, frowned. This was unbelievable. Gilifia usually avoided Dustless as much as she could, so why would she help him rub his back now? I'm a little tired after working the whole day. I'm very grateful that you're willing to rub my back. Dustless replied with a smile. Only an idiot would refuse such a thing. Let's go together, Losvia. Ignoring her panic, Dustless hugged her without warning and whispered, Gilifia wants to rub my back, but I'm used to lying on my stomach. If I sit, my back will hurt. Damn it, there's no place for me to lie down, so I'll have to borrow your body. Let me lie down. Without asking for Losvia's permission, Dustless put her down on the ground and climbed up. Their bodies overlapped. Chapter 1372. Lothvia stared blankly at the shameless Dustless. Her head was spinning, and she was completely dumbfounded. Her mouth was wide open as she stared at Dustless, who was lying on top of her. Lothvia could feel that her proud cleavage had been squashed into a meat patty by Dustless. But she could not care less about that at this moment. How dare he let Riaz's sister-in-law, Gilifia, scrub his back in front of mother-in-law Vainilana, and more importantly, he used me as a cushion. Even Lolth did not know how to express her emotions in this situation. This guy was simply a peerless demon king who was not afraid of anything. Not only did he do whatever he wanted in front of mother-in-law, he even winked at Vainilana and molested her. Lothvia gave him a thumbs up and sighed. Not bad. Very comfortable, Gilifia, as expected of my maid. Dustless smiled and praised, completely ignoring Lothvia's stupor. He laughed in his heart. So what if I'm like this? Even if Sazax himself and Riaz's old man saw it, they wouldn't dare say anything. My fist is the biggest. He was just like the evil god Loki, who had been killed before. He was arrogant and did not care about morality. The only difference was that Dustless was far stronger than Loki. Time passed quickly, and before he knew it, he had fallen asleep under Gilifia and Lothvia's careful care. This caused Vainilana, who was at the side, to blow her beard and glare. She lowered her feet and stomped her chest, feeling indignant. 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. It was close to evening, when it was close to night. Dustless and the people from the Paranormal Research Department went out for a walk. They strolled in the fresh air of the dense forest, filled with the natural fragrance of oxygen. It was refreshing and energizing. How rare. You actually came out for a walk with us. Riaz looked rather surprised because Dustless looked like a lazy person. He would not even exercise after a meal, let alone take a walk. Sleeping after eating was the most realistic portrayal of Dustless. Don't make it sound so bad. After all, I'm your fiancé. You have to protect my image, especially when there are other people here. Dustless looked at Riaz unhappily. Junai and Aisha were also there. As for the other girls, they were all combative people who liked to train. Era. What do you mean by other people? It seems that Lord Shen is treating us as outsiders. Could it be that our relationship is not close enough? I'm so sad. Are you sad too, Aisha? Zhu Nai's tone was gloomy, filled with hidden bitterness. However, there was a smile on her face, as if she was teasing Wu Chen. Yes, Aisha is sad too. Disappointment flashed in her gem-like eyes. Aisha nodded and said sourly, ever since Dustless became the fiancé of the department head, the number of times we spoke could be counted on one hand. Our relationship has fallen. In this world, Dustless is Aisha's most important family member. Then, Aisha locked her gaze on Dustless's face, as if she was afraid that he would run away. That's your illusion. Why would I abandon you? Dustless gently flicked Aisha's forehead. He rubbed her long blonde hair and comforted her. He rolled his eyes at Zhu Nai. The latter just shrugged and had an expression that said it had nothing to do with him. Vroom vroom vroom, suddenly, the dark forest lit up, pulsating with an unusual light. A beautiful girl in revealing clothes walked out of the light slowly. Her every move exuded charm. She had cute cat-like ears, and her misty eyes were filled with lust. She was a living demon. So it's you, Black Song of Tacheng. You're finally here? I guess you're planning to betray the White Dragon Emperor Wally. Dustless was very calm. It was the complete opposite of the three girls who looked like they were about to face a great enemy. Maintain the formation. Zhu Nai is in charge of air support. Aisha is in charge of, these are all superfluous. There's no need for that. You three can go back. Leave her to me. Dustless glanced at Riaz. Seeing her slightly resistant face, he smiled and said, don't you believe in my strength? You guys will only discourage me if you stay here. Who knows, Disaster Mass might be plotting something against the underworld. Quickly tell your brother Sazax about this and let him prepare in advance to deal with any changes. I know. You have to be careful. Riaz nodded silently. Finally, she took a deep look at Black Song of Tacheng. Her cold eyes seemed to be warning her not to do anything rash. Oh, don't worry. Although he's very handsome, I won't have children with him. Black Song of Tacheng teased her playfully, purposely angering Riaz. This guy really knows how to rub salt into my wound. Dustless frowned. He knew that Black Song of Tacheng was doing it on purpose. His goal was to drive a wedge between him and Riaz. Humph. Riaz only snorted softly. She then glared at Dustless fiercely and left. Women are indeed stingy. Dustless rubbed his head speechlessly. He felt like he was being attacked even when he was lying down. Black Song of Tacheng, it's been 7 days since you said last time. What's your decision? Do you want to join my faction, or continue to stay with the White Dragon Emperor Wally? I hope you don't make others feel like you're a scapegoat. Otherwise, you might not be able to see your sister for the rest of your life. Chapter 1373. Dustless's clear eyes stared at Deshang Gu. Although her combat power was not bad, it was useless to Dustless. The reason why he tried so hard to rope in Deshang Gu was because she was Kitten's sister. Another reason was that when White Dragon Emperor Wally knew that his subordinate had betrayed him, he would definitely have a constipated expression. I'm sorry, I thought about it. Your condition. I'm afraid I can't agree. Deshang Gu gathered her courage and said. Her eyes were filled with determination. You actually rejected it? That's really surprising. Dustless said in surprise. He did not expect Deshang Gu to reject such generous conditions. At the same time, he could not help but be curious about why Deshang Gu rejected him. In terms of potential and strength, Dustless completely defeated White Dragon Emperor Wally. The two of them could not be compared at all. To be honest, White Dragon Emperor is indeed not as good as you. Deshang Gu said seriously. White Dragon Emperor Wally, who had entered T-Rex mode, was beaten up by Dustless without any dignity. He was like a clown being teased without restraint. Then why did you reject me? Dustless expressed his deep confusion. He then stared at Deshang-He-Ge's determined little face and seemed to have realized something. He could not help but ask in a strange tone, "Is Wally more handsome than me?" "Are you kidding me?" Pfft. Deshang-He pursed her lips and laughed. She was shocked by Dustless's monologue. She quietly looked at Dustless's gloomy little face. She was even more confused about Dustless. So what if he is more handsome than you? Is there a need to show an expression as if he had met his father's murderer? You have misunderstood. I rejected your condition because we are disaster mass. Deshang-He gave an answer that made people frown. I see. I understand what you mean. After thinking for a few seconds, Dustless suddenly understood and asked jokingly, "Do you think that my background is not strong enough? The boss of Disaster Orpheus is the infinite dragon god, and I'm indeed a general without any backing. I even have to rely on someone else?" Deshang-He was silent upon hearing this and did not answer. But it was clear that she meant this. Silence was equivalent to admitting that Dustless was indeed nothing to the powerful mass of disaster. If she knew that the infinite dragon god is the great red is also my mount, I wonder what kind of expression she would have. How exciting. Dustless had a strange expression on his face. At the same time, he suddenly felt several sharp auras locking onto him. He looked up and saw a powerful magic circle flashing behind Deshang-He. There were countless magic light bullets around him. You want to fight me? You should know the difference between us. Dustless asked calmly. Back then, she had effortlessly suppressed the beautiful monkey. Hegu of Deshang was also present at that time. If Dustless had not let the two of them go, they would have met in the underworld by now. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Hegu of Deshang was unmoved. He did not even answer. The only response to Dustless was the dense magic light bullets. Bang bang bang. His body was blown into pieces. He was extremely weak. Only the lower half of his body was left. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The part of his body that was destroyed suddenly flashed with a large number of photons. Then, it condensed into a new body of Dustless. From his head to his abdomen, all of them were transformed in sequence. You dare to fight me, and even shattered my body. TSK TSK. Even if you're little cat's sister, I'll still punish you severely. What to do when a woman is disobedient? It was very simple. He would use his absolute strength to shatter her confidence and trample on her dignity until it was worthless. This was Dustless's philosophy. It did not matter if you were a man or a woman. He would shatter your dignity first. His eyes focused on the magic circle behind Hegu of Deshang-He. Dustless's eye power began to go wild. He instantly shattered and destroyed the dazzling magic circle. Heavenly reflection. The bright light was instantly swallowed by the dark flames. It was almost extinguished in the blink of an eye. So simple. Even though she had a certain understanding of Dustless's strength, Hegu of Deshang-He could not help but be dumbfounded. According to her thoughts, even if she could not defeat him, she could still hold on for a while. It would not be such a one-sided situation. It is indeed very simple. If it were not for my mercy, your head would have fallen to the ground by now. A ghostly voice appeared behind Hegu of Deshang-He. It carried an unparalleled dominance. That's why you should be thanking me seriously now and not standing there in a daze. Dustless blew cold air into Hegu of Deshang-He's ear to prove his existence to her. Otherwise, Hegu of Deshang-He would have been painstakingly searching for traces of Dustless. Die. Hegu of Deshang-He's body trembled as if she had been electrocuted. Immediately, her eyes flashed with brutality. Her fingers carried a sinister cold light as they attacked Dustless's face. Still not giving up? Dustless raised his eyebrows slightly. His gaze was cold. He also let go of the grudge in his heart. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. When you attack me, you're my enemy. There's no need to show mercy. Hee hee, some of Bingting City's tricks are really good, especially when dealing with women. It's simply godly. The palm of his hand contained boundless strength, and an awe-inspiring energy wave struck towards touching Haegu. The kimono she was wearing instantly burst open, revealing her smooth and delicate body. You bastard, how could you use such a despicable method? Touching Haegu was so angry that her face turned pale. She looked at Dustless, who had an evil smile on his face. She suddenly felt that although the man in front of her was a human in name, he was even more terrifying than a real demon. Compared to Dustless, a demon like Ryath was an angel in Deshang Haig's eyes. Only Dustless, who didn't play by the rules and had no bottom line, could be considered a demon. Chapter 1374. The girl's ear-piercing and panicked screams echoed in the silent forest. The frightened birds flapped their wings and flew away. Occasionally, the wild beasts that passed by would show a greedy expression. However, when they quietly approached, they would hate their parents for not giving birth to them with 2 more legs and retreat. What do you want? I'm Kitten's sister. Don't mess around. Otherwise, she will be sad. You don't want to see her cry for me, right? For some reason, even though Dustless did not release his killing intent, Touching Haegu was still stared at by his calm eyes. His soul was chilled and his heart was pounding. You're Kitten's sister? Not bad. However, please don't forget that you are also our enemy, one of the members of Disaster Group. Dustless curled his lips and said disdainfully. Now that he knew he was Kitten's sister, where was he just now? Touching Haegu was uncomfortable with Dustless's words. He simply said shamelessly, if you do something unfriendly to me, Kitten will. I'll repeat it again. You are our enemy now. Even if I do something that goes beyond human morality, I think Riaz and Kitten will understand my difficulties. Dustless said casually. What he meant was that he could do anything. Understand your difficulties? Hearing this, Touching Haege's face darkened. What difficulties do you have? You don't have to take off my clothes even if you have difficulties. Especially when Wu Chen lied without blushing or panting, it made Black Song angry. He was like an iron bucket that could not be swayed by oil and salt. He would not listen to anything. Miss Haegu, what's your choice? Do you want to join us, or join us? Dustless stared sneakily at Touching Haegu, whose clothes were not even covering her body. Her clothes were all destroyed by Dustless. Now, she was just a white body. The important secret parts were also revealed at a glance. Hee, Dustless let out a dark and wretched smile. His eyes were filled with evil intent. He purposely oppressed Touching Haege's nerves. Gulp. Deshang Haege's pretty face was as pale as paper. Although she was bold and unrestrained by nature and didn't mind finding an outstanding and powerful person to happily make babies with, the script in front of her was completely different from what she had imagined. Even if you take away my body, you can't take away my heart. You're the best. I believe that love grows with time. Besides, does it have anything to do with me whether I can get your heart or not? Dustless said with a wave of his hand. He deliberately put on a hungry look as he slowly walked towards Black Song. The powerless Touching Haegu was also forced under the tree roots. I have 108 tricks. Even if you pass out, I can easily revive you with my healing technique, so you don't have to worry about. Shut up. I agree to your conditions. Touching Haegu, who could not take it anymore, finally compromised. His gaze was dim as he said, I agree to your conditions. After leaving White Dragon Emperor Wally's place, I will be your comrade. No, I will be your subordinate. Hearing this, Dustless deliberately put on a wretched expression. He took off his jacket and threw it to Black Song, saying, I've been waiting for you to say this. Black Song did not care about Dustless, who was complaining. He quickly took Dustless's clothes to prevent himself from being exposed. I heard that you killed Loki. Black Song's expression changed. He looked at Dustless with a gaze of worship. After all, the strong were respected in this world, and powerful people were sought after. Yeah, that kid didn't know what was good for him. So what if I killed him? At first, I thought that the gods in this world were very strong, at least at the same level as Kaguya and the others. However, Loki's performance was very disappointing. To be honest, he was far from the god I expected. It felt like he was deceiving the world. Lying on the soft grass and looking at the bright moonlight, Dustless said with a waning heart. His tone was melancholy, as if he was fighting for justice for the gods he had met. He always felt that the gods in this world were pitifully weak. Pfft! Black Song was choked by Dustless's words. He said bluntly, "It's not that Loki is weak. As a god, his strength is naturally extraordinary. In the end, it's that you're so strong that it's beyond the limits of his knowledge. What I don't understand is," at this point, Black Song stared at Dustless's cheeks and asked doubtfully, "I should be useless to you. Why are you so obsessed with me? Didn't I say it before?" Dustless glanced at Black Song in dissatisfaction and repeated, "It would be best if the other subordinates of White Dragon Emperor Wally jumped ship. I'm really looking forward to Wally's constipated, angry face that has nowhere to vent." As long as he thought of White Dragon Emperor Wally's expression of, "I'm second to the heavens," Dustless wanted to immediately fly over and give him a good beating. At the same time, he wanted to step on Wally's face a few times. Just for this? Hearing this, Black Song's mouth twitched. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. What kind of mentality was this? In order to see others suffer, he actually did such a thing that harmed others without benefiting himself? Black Song had a new understanding of Dustless. He was as willful as a child. However, it's not bad to join your camp. At least I can be with Kitten every day. At this point, Black Song had a satisfied smile on his face. What a dishonest fellow. Dustless glanced at Black Song indifferently. It was because he understood her nature that Dustless took her in. In fact, Black Song cared a lot about Kitten in his heart. He just did not say it out loud. Buzz buzz buzz. At this moment, unusual ripples appeared in the sky. Chapter 1375. Light flashed in the sky. Judging from the outline, it should be a magic circle. The light was shining and embellished with a strange light. The void within the magic circle was severely distorted. Then, a weirdly dressed person rushed out from it. He was wearing armor and had a hairpin on his forehead that no one had ever seen before. Generally speaking, it looked more like the golden hoop incantation. He was also floating in the sky on a cloud. Other than that, he was also carrying a golden staff. Only Wally's subordinate can dress so comically. "Beautiful monkey, you're just a defeated opponent. You actually dared to come to me. Did your strength increase recently, or did you become more reckless?" Dustless said disdainfully as he carefully observed the black dot in the sky. His words were full of contempt. "You." Sigh. Deshang Gu sighed lightly. The beautiful monkey's strength was actually not bad, but compared to Dustless, it was not worth mentioning. Not to mention him, even if the beautiful monkey's boss Wally came, he could only nurse a grievance when encountering the Devil King like Dustless. "Black Song, you. Why are you here?" Beautiful monkey's voice was amplified several times. His expression was also a little stiff. "Don't worry about Black Song. Tell White Dragon Emperor Wally that she," ignoring Black Song's shock, Dustless directly pulled Black Song into a bad situation. He also ignored Black Song's dull eyes and pressed his dry lips toward Black Song's face. Smack. Black Song's eyes were dull. His pupils were dark and empty. He was like a machine sizing up Dustless, who had a slightly arrogant smile on his face. He was instantly furious. For some reason, he vaguely saw the teasing in Dustless's eyes. His heart was filled with disappointment. "See, this guy is mine from now on. Hurry up and get Wally out of here." Dustless waved his hand. His tone was full of pride. Tricking a person's most trusted subordinate was the most successful thing. What did you say? As expected, Beautiful Monkey's body shook. He floated in the sky and looked down at the silent black song of Tacheng. He immediately understood that Dustless was telling the truth. Silence was a silent acknowledgement. Black Song, what do you think will happen to Wally if you do this? He will lose all face. The Beautiful Monkey's hoarse voice was filled with reproach and a hint of warning. Don't forget Wally's identity. Even if you're not as good as him now, can you surpass me in the future? A voice without warning resounded through the sky. The Beautiful Monkey was startled, but discovered that Dustless had disappeared without a trace. Do you know the biggest difference between us? A cold voice came from the front. The Beautiful Monkey looked up. At some unknown time, Dustless had already appeared in front of him. He only has the great red in his eyes. My goal is the vast universe. First of all, he has already lost in terms of goals. For Valerie, the difficulty of defeating me is no less than defeating God as a human. So you can understand the difference? TSK, looks like you can't understand. Humans really can't communicate with animals like monkeys. Glancing at the gloomy expression of the Beautiful Monkey, Dustless knew that he wasn't listening. Grow and stretch, wishful staff. The iron staff that was as thin as a willow branch suddenly multiplied in size and finally turned into a towering pillar that smashed towards Dustless. Naive. Glancing at the Beautiful Monkey whose face was full of hatred, Dustless gently shook his head and immediately rode on the light. His body seemed to be transparent as he directly ignored the existence of the wishful staff. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In an instant, he arrived in front of the Beautiful Monkey. The sky doesn't suit you. Sleep on the ground for a while. A large amount of light gathered under his feet. Dustless greeted his face with a kick. Light speed kick. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The severely injured Beautiful Monkey suddenly lost his balance. The somersault cloud under his feet was also destroyed by the powerful force of the light speed kick. Finally, the Beautiful Monkey fell to the ground powerlessly. Boom boom boom. The huge forest was destroyed because of the impact of the Beautiful Monkey. A huge pit appeared, and the lush green forest became a disaster area. You're too weak. You don't even have the qualifications to make me take you seriously. The sarcastic tone suddenly mocked the Beautiful Monkey. Dustless's mind waned. Hateful, I was obviously defeated by this guy last time. I have already entered the training and even asked Orpheus for help. Why am I still defeated by the same move? The Beautiful Monkey's eyes were scarlet. In front of Dustless, he only felt that he was a clown. The other party could trample on him at will, and it was just a casual and simple move. You only trained for a few months, and I have been increasing my strength for hundreds of years. It's normal that you can't beat me. Traversing 3 worlds, including the one in front of him, it was already 4 worlds. Dustless's strength was improving all the time. You want to surpass me, who has experienced countless life and death struggles for hundreds of years in a few months. Naive. Dustless's words were filled with endless contempt. His hundreds of years of hard work was surpassed in a few months. He might as well die. Don't be too proud. Dusting off the dust on his body, the Beautiful Monkey still gritted his teeth and stood up. White Dragon Emperor Wally was his close friend. At this time, he must support White Dragon Emperor and must not cower. You don't know the meaning of death. Seeing this, Dustless's eyes flashed coldly. He lifted his thumb with a cold gaze, and a high-density destructive light beam gathered in front of him. Laser shot. As soon as his voice fell, the light beam whizzed out. The armor that the Beautiful Monkey was wearing was as thin as a cicada's wing. It was as fragile as paper and couldn't withstand a single blow. It was easily penetrated. Poochie. A charred hole appeared in the Beautiful Monkey's heart. It was about the size of a thumb, but the power was not to be underestimated. His entire body was penetrated. Chapter 1376. Beautiful Monkey was in unbearable pain. He didn't expect Dustless to be so strong. His strength was boundless. He had trained hard for a while, but it was useless against Dustless. He was just asking for humiliation. It was as difficult as ascending to heaven to fight against Dustless. Although my body isn't that strong, it's not that weak either. He easily destroyed my armor with a raise of his hand, and even penetrated my body. The beautiful monkey was incomparably shocked. For a moment, even the pain was thrown far away. Having such a strong enemy like Dustless was simply everyone's nightmare. Even if he was still alive, he would still be living in fear. Shoo shoo shoo. A sharp explosion sounded, and beautiful monkey suddenly felt that the world in his eyes was extremely dazzling. Raising his head, he saw that Wu Chen's raised shining foot was already aiming at his head. Hee hee, seeing such a scene, beautiful monkey revealed a carefree smile. Sometimes, being killed was also a kind of relief, especially when you knew that you couldn't defeat the enemy. You would live in a nightmare forever. Death was the wisest choice. However, he was destined to be disappointed. Don't show such an indifferent expression. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Dustless shook his finger and revealed a "don't worry" expression. It's not good to fight and kill. You'd better live peacefully. At least help me pass a few words to your master. The light condensed on the bottom of his foot disappeared, and his right foot landed on the ground again. What do you mean? Beautiful monkey asked in a hoarse voice. If he could, he would rather die. Nothing. I just feel that for people like you, rather than letting you die and be relieved, it's better to let you live in a nightmare forever. Dustless's mouth revealed a devilish cold smile. Tell Wally that he must work hard. With such a valuable enemy like me, if he doesn't have any motivation, he will have no way out in the future. This guy is so ruthless. Dark Song's beautiful eyes flashed with realization. She immediately understood Dustless's intention. He wasn't being merciful, but he was silently telling White Dragon Emperor Wally, your companions' lives are in my hands. If you don't want them to be killed, then work hard. This was to stimulate Wally to abuse himself crazily. You bastard, kill me if you have the guts. The beautiful monkey's expression changed. He also understood Dustless's scheme. Dustless wanted to use him to provoke Varley. His method was despicable and sinister. Hee hee. You don't have a choice. Dustless laughed sinisterly. At the same time, he looked towards Deshang and He Gu, giving her a meaningful glance. Phew, helplessly, Black Song could only do as he was told. After all, Dustless was his current boss. Moreover, he was eccentric and unpredictable. If he offended him, he would not be able to bear the consequences. Dustless decisively opened the magic array used to travel through time and space, and then kicked it in. In a special mysterious space. A blue light flashed in the sky, and the battered and exhausted beautiful monkey stepped out from it. White Dragon Emperor Wally frowned and asked in confusion, how did you end up like this? Who hurt you? Black Song hasn't returned yet? Wally's eyes flashed with hostility. He actually valued his companions. It's that guy called Dustless. Black Song won't be coming back. Dragging his tired body to sit on the ground, the beautiful monkey said helplessly, she has joined Dustless's camp. From now on, she's our enemy. Although he knew that these words were a big blow to Wally, the beautiful monkey still felt that it was necessary to make it clear. Caw caw caw. The ground under White Dragon Emperor Wally's feet suddenly burst open. His body erupted with an extremely oppressive aura. He had always been the one to tease others. When had anyone dared to tease him like this? How's that guy called Dustless's strength recently? Your strength has improved a lot recently. Even if you can't beat him, you shouldn't lose too badly. Wally asked in a hoarse voice. His stern tone seemed to be looking for Black Song and Dustless to settle the score. Recently, he and the beautiful monkey had been training themselves crazily. Their strength was completely different from before. To be honest, last time he deliberately teased me, so he fought a few more moves with Dustless. As a result, he didn't play with me this time. He only used one move to severely injure me. The beautiful monkey's tone was extremely depressed. He lowered his head in shame and did not dare to look at Wally's eyes. In fact, Dustless only used Lightspeed Kick to severely injure him. The remaining laser was completely superfluous. To put it bluntly, he deliberately disgusted him. Perhaps he saw that he was pitiful and deliberately rewarded him with another move. Looks like the matter of him killing Loki is true. Until now, White Dragon Emperor Wally had still calmed down. Although he was extremely sullen in his heart, he could not even restrain his own subordinates. In the end, Dustless had taken advantage of him. Thinking about it, the blood in Wally's body was boiling. A gush of old blood rushed to his head and was about to vomit. We seemed to, the beautiful monkey, who had always been flamboyant, was unusually well behaved. When he saw that White Dragon Emperor Wally did not go berserk, he said, "It's impossible to surpass him with pure effort. After all, that guy can kill gods. After all, that guy can kill gods." This sentence was like a thorn that deeply stabbed White Dragon Emperor Wally's self-esteem. That's right, Dustless was already strong to the extent that he could kill gods, but what was he doing? Dustless's ridicule suddenly appeared in his mind. He did not know why, but Wally suddenly felt that it was too appropriate. "In my eyes, you are simply a child who has not grown up." Chapter 1377. Staring at White Dragon Emperor Wally, who was pounding his chest and stamping his feet in anger, Monkey felt helpless. Both of them were members of the Misfortune Squad, and happened to be Dustless's enemy. They deserved to be beaten up. "How about," Monkey seemed to have thought of something as his eyes flashed and suggested, "how about we let the infinite dragon god Orpheus deal with him? If it's Orpheus, she can definitely defeat Dustless. After all, Orpheus had unlimited power." "Maybe, but," Wally turned his head and coldly glanced at Monkey as he coldly rejected, "but that guy is my enemy. This is my personal matter. Orpheus has no right to interfere." As expected, hearing this, Monkey could only smile bitterly. He was not surprised because this was the arrogant White Dragon Emperor. No one could control his will and no one could interfere with his personal matters. "Speaking of which, I haven't seen Orpheus recently." Wally lowered his head and thought about something as he recalled Orpheus' recent strange behavior. That guy couldn't have gone to find trouble with the Great Red, right? Monkey was bored and smiled. "I don't know either." White Dragon Emperor Wally expressed that he did not know either. He then pondered for a moment and said, "If that's the case, let's go to the Dimensional Crevice and have a look. I also want to see the legendary Great Red." When talking about the Great Red, Wally's eyes shone with ambition. He wanted to defeat the Great Red and become the White Dragon Emperor. Although Dustless had an accident, his dream had never changed. Inside Riaz's villa, the members of the Supernatural Research Department were clearly divided into two groups. Dustless and Taching Hage were isolated, while the other group led by Riaz looked unfriendly. "Ayaya. There's no need to be so cautious. The atmosphere is so gloomy that I can't even catch my breath." Dustless was the first to break the ice. Riaz and the others knew that Taching Hage was White Dragon Emperor Wally's subordinate, so it was understandable for them to be cautious. "Don't you want to explain? Why is this guy in my house?" Riaz snapped. She cursed Dustless in her mind. This was her house. It was one thing for him to bring a random person without summoning, but the worst thing was that this person was a member of her nemesis, the Disaster Squad. Elder sister, Kitten fearfully looked at the smiling black song of Deshang. Fear flashed across her face, and her fists were clenched tightly. It was not hard to see that she was very afraid of Black Song. Cough cough. "I'm sorry, this is my oversight. Her name is Black Song of Tacheng, which is also Kitten's sister. From now on, she's one of us." Dustless suddenly broke the news. All the girls were tongue-tied, their faces full of suspicion. "Everyone, please advise me." Taching Hegu elegantly lifted her skirt and smiled gently at Riaz and the other girls. However, in the eyes of the girls, it felt like a weasel paying a visit to a chicken with ill intentions. Even so, it still couldn't dispel everyone's doubts. Even if you're Riaz's fiancé, it's not appropriate for you to bring a strange woman home. Especially since this guy is the White Dragon Emperor's subordinate, there's a need to check carefully. A powerful voice suddenly sounded. The voice was infused with magic, bringing with it a sense of oppression. "You want to check on Black Song?" Dustless's eyes flashed with a cold light. "You want to check on the person I brought here? Who do you think you are?" "That's right. As a member of the disaster squad, it's necessary to check carefully." The mysterious person appeared from the corridor. His dense hair was sticking up, and his cold eyes were domineering like a lion. The explosive muscles all over his body were not simple. "Cousin?" Riaz exclaimed. Her face was full of surprise. Riaz's cousin? The members of the paranormal research department were all stunned. They all looked at this extraordinarily handsome man. His awe-inspiring aura made people not dare to breathe too heavily. "I'm sorry, I don't care whose cousin you are, and I don't care which demon family you are the heir of. I'm not interested in these, and I don't want to know. You just need to know that you don't have the right to check on her." Pointing at Black Song, Dustless's tone was as cold as ice. "This is troublesome." Riaz felt a headache coming on. She knew her cousin and Dustless's personality very well. Once they got serious, there was no way they would back down. It might turn into a huge battle in the end, and her cousin was the one who was crushed. Riaz couldn't bring herself to say it. She might hurt Saroj Bar's pride. "You're just as barbaric and unreasonable as the rumors say." Saroj knew Dustless's personality very well. He just smiled knowingly. Dustless stood there like a statue. He didn't answer. He pulled Black Song to his side and quietly expressed his stance. What he meant was, "This person is under my protection. Thank goodness we didn't fight." Seeing this, Riaz let out a sigh of relief. The rock on her chest also disappeared. But Dustless and Saroj stared at each other. There was a possibility of a fight breaking out at any time. The younger generation of demons is about to start. "I hope the two of you don't waste time." Riaz's eyes lit up as she tried to dissuade them. "Waste time? How is that possible? This kind of comedic fight is supposed to end in an instant." Dustless answered easily and confidently. He then looked at Saroj and asked, "You think so too, don't you?" Chapter 1378. Saroj Bar looked at Dustless in a daze, and there was some anger in his heart. He was the strongest demon of the younger generation, but Dustless's contemptuous tone didn't put him in his eyes at all. What he meant was that if they started fighting, he could finish him off in an instant. Creak. Creak. Saratog clenched his fists so tightly that veins popped out on his fists. His palms were sweating, and the crackling sounds from his fingers made everyone's heart skip a beat. Why are there so many monsters? Hito Issei wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He suddenly realized that the confidence he had built up with so much effort had crumbled once again. Compared to this group of people, you are indeed pitifully weak. The Red Dragon Emperor Drake did not hold back at all. Compared to Dustless and the others, Hito Issei was a single-celled organism. He was just a weakling. Swoosh. Swoosh. A violent explosion sounded, and Saratog's body made crackling sounds like lightning. His aura rose to a level that made everyone feel suffocated. "This guy is very strong," Touching Black Song frowned and looked at him cautiously. She felt a sense of danger from Saratog's body, as if he could destroy her at any time. Swoosh. Swoosh. Saratog dove down like lightning, and his huge fists went straight for Dustless. They started fighting just like that? Everyone was stunned. They did not expect the fight to be so simple. This guy is so cunning. He actually launched a sneak attack first. Despicable. Zhu Nai and the others were so angry that they stomped their feet. They all felt that it was unfair for Dustless. Launching a sneak attack without saying anything was too shameless. Even Riaz, Saratog's cousin, was unhappy with him. So slow, it might have been a flash in the eyes of others, but in Dustless's eyes, it was as slow as a turtle crawling. "Let me test how hard your body is," Saratog shouted. His fist that could flatten a mountain was about to land on Dustless's face, but a seemingly weak arm easily caught it. "Stop fooling around, brat." A small hand that was only a quarter of Saroj's size calmly blocked the sharp edge of the fist, and the fist with the pressure of Mount Tai was unable to move forward in the slightest. This. Gulp, how is this possible? Saroj was tongue-tied as his internal organs violently jumped. He subconsciously looked at Dustless. This snow-white hand that was comparable to a woman's belonged to him. Dustless looked straight at Saroj without any ripples in his eyes as he explained in a soft voice, "It's just a game of words. You can play it casually, but if you go beyond this boundary, the flavor will change. Especially when you raise your fist. I can kill you at any time." His pitch-black eyes were as bright as the moon. His calm tone was filled with confidence, but it caused Black Ge's eyes to light up. He felt as if he had just woken up from a dream. TSK. I didn't expect this kid to care about me so much. It's not bad to make a baby with him. De Shanghaegu pursed her lips. She did not have any prejudice against her partner as long as he was strong enough. Dustless was a perfect fit. It was far more fitting than anyone else he had met before. "Are you looking down on me? Why aren't you fighting back?" Saroj pulled back his fist with an ugly expression. His old face was burning with pain. Dustless's words hurt even more than a beating. "You're right to understand it that way. The gap is indeed too big. You should have tested it out just now." Dustless casually gave an excuse. The so-called strongest young demon was just a so-so. Whether or not he could even close the White Dragon Emperor Wally was a problem. Humph. Hearing this, Saroj's eyes flashed with a scarlet color. He raised his lowered arm again as his veins popped out. This time, he gathered even more strength and smashed it at Dustless. Stubborn brat. Seeing this, Dustless gave him a hopeless look. This time, he was even more ruthless as he simply raised a thumb. Boom, boom, boom. A huge vibration spread out and the entire mansion trembled. The force was so great that Riaz and the others thought that Dustless's thumb would be broken. Who would have thought that the result was so shocking? Dustless only used one finger to block Saroj's attack. That was my full attack? And this time it was just one finger? Saroj was shocked beyond words. His lips trembled as he looked at Dustless suspiciously. He suddenly suspected that Dustless used some kind of mysterious tool to weaken his power. That was why he did not react at all. What's there to be surprised about? Do you even need to think about this? The result is obvious. You didn't use your full strength just now, and I didn't use my full strength either. So this result is not surprising. Dustless shrugged as he explained it as it should be. At the same time, his eyes were focused on the figure in the corner. After carefully sensing it, he frowned. This guy was like a poisonous snake in human skin. On the surface, he was warm and sunny, but on the inside, he was cold and vicious. I seem to have seen this guy before. I remember his name is Theodora Astaroth. I heard that he is a relative of the current Demon King. His background and origin are very scary. Dustless said to himself. He deliberately raised his voice and focused everyone's eyes on Theodora. Greetings, everyone. Noticing the gaze, Theodora also knew that he could not continue to hide, so he took the initiative to greet them with a warm smile. A poisonous snake in human skin. This is very similar to Sosuke Aizen, but your strength is 1,000 miles away from the others. Chapter 1379. When the observation hockey is practiced to the limit, it can also see through the other party's mind. Just like Dustless, he has already vaguely seen Theodora's purpose. You even want to hit Aisha. Your strength is a bit weak, but your courage is not small. A cold light flashed. Dustless's gaze shifted to Theodora's head. With a playful smile on his face, his lips squirmed slightly. When he was about to ridicule him, someone spoke first. This place is not suitable for you, Theodora, Rias's cousin Saroj said coldly. Seeing this, Dustless's eyes narrowed slightly, touched his chin and said, "It seems that the relationship between these two people is just a so-so. Maybe they can help me deal with him. This doesn't seem to have anything to do with you." Theodora's face always maintained a smile, giving people a very warm feeling. People who don't know him will really think that he is a gentleman, but in fact, his heart is black. Ingen is her. Theodora secretly glanced at Aisha and cleared his throat. When he was about to talk to Aisha, Saroj's impatient tone stopped him. "If there is nothing else, please leave quickly. I still want to fight with that guy." His tone was obviously a bit harsher. Being disturbed rashly and suffering a loss in the hands of Dustless, Saroj was now angry. "I'm going to say no." Theodora was fearless. Instead, he disdainfully curled his lips. He is the blood relative of the current demon king, Beelzebub, and the next head of the Astaroth family. There is no need to be afraid of Saroj. Not only that, Theodora felt that he could use Saroj to show off his strength. Two idiots spit at each other. Wuchen sat on the chair lazily and crossed his legs calmly. He stared at the two of them with a malicious look, as if he was a bystander. This is a duel between the second generation of officials. It has nothing to do with him, an outsider. "Do you want to be beaten?" Frowning, Saroj asked gloomily. Dustless has not washed away the shame he gave him, and this idiot came to talk back to him again. It was the unlucky rhythm of being targeted by ghosts when they went out. "Humph, if you want to fight, then get out of here. Don't disturb my proposal." Diodora, whose face was flushed red, refused to back down. "Propose?" Hearing this, Dustless's eyes emitted a cold murderous aura, and the surrounding temperature immediately dropped. "Forget it if you want to propose to Aisha." Dustless revealed his deep three-tomo Sharingan, radiating a demonic brilliance, and smiled more devilishly than a demon. "Propose? Who do you want to propose to?" Saroj's murderous aura froze for a moment. He took a closer look and realized that there was no one else but Rias's family. "Humph, that's none of your business." Diodora snorted and walked up to Aisha. Her face was full of adoration. "Dear Aisha Algert, to be honest, I've admired you for a long time. When I heard that you were in danger when you first came to the demon realm, I was so anxious that I couldn't eat or sleep well. I even organized an army of demons to save you. Is this guy an idiot? Can someone explain to me what he's doing? Is there something wrong with his brain? I think there's something wrong with his brain. He's mumbling to a wall for no reason. Is he crazy? How can this idiot be the heir of the Astaroth family? He must be the last patriarch. Ha 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 ha. This idiot is killing me. He's proposing to a wall? The unbridled mockery spread. Diodora frowned and was about to scold them when she suddenly realized that the person who was proposing to her, Aisha, had turned into a wall. What the F***ck is going on? Why am I proposing to a wall? Where's Miss Aisha? Diodora, who came to her senses, shouted in shock. She then recalled everyone's mockery, and her old face twitched. Her eyes were bloodshot. Diodora was so depressed that she almost vomited blood, and her breathing sped up. Not only was her reputation completely ruined, but she had actually proposed to a wall with deep affection. In the future, her name would definitely be passed down in the demon world, and future generations would talk about it with relish. On the other hand, Aisha was already standing behind Dustless at some point in time. You bastard, being played around like a monkey. Diodora finally could no longer maintain her fake appearance of being handsome. Her face was distorted as she looked at Dustless and Aisha. What, you don't want to continue acting? Dustless asked teasingly as he chewed on an apple. He even gave her a thumbs up and said, come on, you can propose to a wall so brilliantly. The best actor title will be yours in the future. It must be you who did it, right? It's definitely you. Diodora roared like she was at the top of her lungs. Not only did her plan to show off in front of Aisha completely fail, but she even treated him as if he was an idiot. He was an idiot who was trying to please the crowd. So what if it's me? So what if it's not me? Looking at Diodora's fierce gaze that seemed to want to eat him alive, Dustless asked, unmoved. So what? What a joke. You have to understand that I'm a blood relative of the Demon King, Beelzebub, and this is the underworld. What do you think will happen if you offend a relative of the Demon King? Diodora asked fiercely, a fierce light flashing in her eyes. Just as she was about to threaten Dustless, a strong figure resolutely blocked her way, looking at Diodora's fierce gaze without fear. Chapter 1380. Dustless's crimson hair fluttered in the wind, exuding a mesmerizing fragrance. As the hair was too long, it drooped on his cheeks, making the willow fragrance even clearer. He could not help but take a few more sniffs. Dustless could not help but sigh as he stared blankly at the girl in front of him. This was the first time in his life that he was protected by a woman. This feeling was exceptionally deep. But it was undeniable that Dustless was very happy. Get this straight. He's my fiancé. Is there a need for him to be afraid of you? Theodora. Riaz answered domineeringly. Her cold gaze was fearless as she stared at Theodora. Her aura was even stronger than his. You, seeing this, Theodora's face twisted even more, almost turning into a fried dough twist. Theodora glared fiercely at Riaz. She could ignore everyone's feelings, but Riaz was an exception. Her brother was also one of the 4 demon lords, and his strength was unfathomable. There were rumors that Sazak's strength was 10 times that of the previous demon lord. Just thinking about it made Theodora's heart skip a beat. Bastard, do you only dare to hide behind a woman? Come out if you have the guts. Theodora pointed at Dustless and roared in anger. She rubbed her teeth as if she was about to grind them to pieces. Me? Come out? If I don't come out, are you going to bite me? Dustless shrugged and said provocatively, of course, if you have the ability, you can jump over and hit me. Hearing this, Theodora went berserk on the spot. She was so angry that her whole body creaked. This was the most tragic thing in the world. The enemy was right in front of you, but you did not have the ability to touch him. When it came to backing, Riaz was much stronger than Theodora. I'm not going to argue with you. Theodora comforted herself with a fake smile. As the descendant of the demon lord, there was no need to argue with a nobody. Her gaze finally fell on Aisha. Miss Aisha, Diodora took out an incomparably bright rose from somewhere and said with a sincere expression, from the day I met you, I knew that in this life. At this point, Theodora did not know why, but she could not help but stop. She subconsciously looked at Dustless and saw him looking at her with a smirk. Her heart suddenly skipped a beat, and she knew that things were not going well. Then Theodora realized that her hands were empty, and the roses in her palms were all gone. Oh my! You are so considerate. I dare say that you will buy roses for me if I need them. Thank you so much, Your Excellency Theodora. Wuchen played with the crimson rose in his hand, and he could smell the faint fragrance. Aisha, this is for you. I haven't been able to give you anything good. I just sent Theodora to buy you 2 blooming roses. If you like them, please accept them. Wuchen handed the roses to Isha gracefully and smiled gently. Really? Dustless. Aisha's eyes widened instantly. She took the initiative to rub against Dustless's shoulder, and then lay on it like a cat. This is not right. Theodora was petrified on the spot. She looked at Dustless in disbelief. Her eyes were obviously saying, "Why are you using my flowers to please me? Who allowed you to do this?" Most importantly, Aisha actually believed it. Even an idiot could see that Dustless was making it up, but she actually believed it without hesitation. How slow are you? Theodora felt dizzy just thinking about it, and her body swayed uncontrollably. I will kill you. Theodora, who had lost her mind, roared angrily. She waved her hand, and a dense number of magic bullets whizzed out. You bastard. Theodora glared at Dustless angrily. In her heart, she cursed Dustless for being a coward who did not even have the courage to fight one-on-one. He only knew how to live behind a woman. Bite me if you have the guts. Dustless shrugged nonchalantly. If this could infuriate her to death, he would be more than happy to do it. You forced me to do this. She clasped her hands together, and a huge magic circle suddenly appeared. She glared at Dustless fiercely, and then angrily injected a vast amount of magic power into it. The magic circle suddenly lit up. You even dare to hit me? Riaz asked angrily. She was still standing in front of Dustless. Hee. Hearing this, Theodora just smiled nonchalantly and said, Miss Riaz, you can only calculate a person's true inner thoughts in such an urgent situation. If he really likes you and loves you, he will definitely not let you get hurt. Theodora decided to act shamelessly. She thought of a perfect plan that satisfied both sides. She looked at Dustless with a ferocious and proud expression. Whoosh. 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 Her expression turned cold. Countless dense lights swept out from the magic circle, and the dense light bullets bombarded Riaz continuously. If Riaz wanted to avoid it, it would be equivalent to Diodora's intention, and she would be able to hit Dustless. If Riaz insisted on holding on, she would definitely be hit. At that time, Dustless could also be half-hearted towards her and be perfunctory towards her. Boom. 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 The light exploded, and a violent explosion was set off. Even a hole was smashed in the house. Something doesn't seem right. What happened? Without a doubt, Riaz was safe and sound. All the magic bullets landed on Dustless, but there was no reaction at all. It was as if nothing had happened. Not only that, Theodora also felt extreme pain. Looking at the changes in her body, she was instantly stunned. Chapter 1381. Despite his words, Dustless was actually feeling extremely awkward. He secretly scolded Black Go for not caring about the occasion. How could he casually mention this kind of hobby? He was obviously trying to trick him. Then let's go take a look. Facing the eager gazes of the girls, Dustless could only compromise. He was not interested, but Zhu Nai and the rest were. He had to be considerate of their feelings. Otherwise, his harem would sooner or later be on fire. I've gotten myself into big trouble today. On the way to the banquet, Riaz approached Dustless and sighed. Her delicate little face was unusually wrinkled and sad, which made her look very lovable. My cute Riaz. Why are you sighing like that? Also, who's the one who got into big trouble? Dustless blinked and asked curiously. Hearing that, Riaz rolled her eyes and said unhappily, Who is it? So far away, but so close. Dustless looked around instinctively and realized that Zhu Nai and the rest were walking in front, talking and laughing. Only he and Riaz were walking at the back. It can't be me, right? Looking at Riaz in confusion, Dustless asked, You can't be talking about that Diodora, right? Just a small character not worth mentioning, just a clown. He is indeed a clown, but you've overlooked a big problem. With a serious expression, Riaz said in a low voice, but his position is very special. Not only is he the next head of the Astaroth family, but he also has a special identity that cannot be ignored. He's the relative of the current demon king, Beelzebub. The entire underworld knew that Diodora was the relative of the demon king, but Dustless still beat him up for no reason and almost crippled his legs. What did this mean? It meant that he was directly going against the Demon King. To put it bluntly, this was purposely slapping the Demon King, Beelzebub, in the face. It seems very serious. He might have indirectly offended the Demon King. Dustless nodded as if he understood, but his sloppy expression showed that he did not take it to heart. His bored expression of looking around was obviously just to deal with Riaz. Seeing this, Riaz did not know whether to laugh or cry. She had a headache about Dustless. Although Demon King Beelzebub would not punish Dustless, it was undeniable that Dustless was already in the Demon King's sights. There's no need to care about such a small fry. Dustless could not bear to see Riaz worried, so he comforted her. If that Demon King really comes looking for us, I'll just have to get rid of him for the sake of the people. Dustless said with a smile that was not a smile. A mere Demon King was not worth mentioning. In Dustless's words, calling you a Demon King is giving you face. If you make me unhappy, I'll beat you up like a dog in the next second. Riaz's smile became even more bitter. She was afraid that this would happen. Dustless was not the kind of person who would apologize. If a Demon King really came looking for trouble, according to Riaz's guess, Dustless would definitely destroy him. By then, there would be one less Demon King out of the 4, and the entire underworld would lose its stability. The peace treaty that her brother Sazax had spent so much effort to establish would also disappear. The fall of a Demon King might cause the entire world to fall into a crisis. The people of this world are really narrow-minded. In their eyes, there are only Demon Kings and gods. Dustless could not help but shake his head. In this world where gods were everywhere, their actual strength was only so-so. Even if he met his previous enemy, Sosuke Aizen, it might have been a one-sided battle, let alone a super strong person like him who had swept through several dimensions. After a few minutes, Dustless, Riaz, and the rest finally arrived at the gathering place of the younger generation of demons. The appearance of Riaz and the rest immediately caused an uproar. However, when they saw Dustless appear, they all left in disappointment. Without a trace, they had slapped Demon King Beelzebub's old face. It would be difficult for them to survive in the underworld in the future. These guys are really fence-sitters. They'll go wherever the wind blows. Genova, Wisteria, and Rena said angrily, stomping their feet. Riaz and the rest also frowned. Their dissatisfaction was obvious. It was true that everyone would go their separate ways in the face of disaster. These people were really too snobbish. You guys are really bored. What's the point of arguing with a bunch of bugs? Dustless said nonchalantly. At this moment, he was sitting in front of the dining table, enjoying the food attentively. His image of wolfing down the food was completely ruined. At least pay attention to your etiquette. Also, find out what kind of occasion it is tonight. The Norse main god Odin and the other demon kings will be attending this gathering. A dissatisfied voice sounded. Turning around, Dustless saw a girl with a long ponytail dressed as a mage girl with a hot body glaring at him. Demon King, Leviathan, Seraphil? Dustless froze. After stuffing another piece of cake into his mouth and chewing it slowly, he pointed at the people who were pointing at him. These guys are just clowns. Do you have to respect them? Dustless hated fence-sitters who swayed according to the wind. But the main characters of tonight's banquet aren't them. It's the Demon Kings and the Norse main god. Seraphil puffed out her chest and said proudly. So what? Hearing this, Dustless pursed his lips, not caring about Seraphil's identity as Demon King. You're a Demon King too. Have I ever respected you? Pfft. The herbal tea that had just entered her mouth spurted out without a care for her image. Veins popped out on Seraphil's forehead. This guy was obviously the kind of person who liked to poke at her sore spot. Dustless not only did not respect her, he did not even take Seraphil seriously. Instead, he treated her like a joke. Not only did he not respect Seraphil, who was a demon king, he even forcibly took away her chastity. Chapter 1382. Hearing this, Diodora was furious. Ever since he met Dustless, this jinx, his glorious life had gradually fallen into a trough. Moreover, this unlucky guy was still haunting him. No matter where he was, he would go against him. If it were not for the huge difference in strength, he would definitely pounce on Dustless and strangle him to death. This guy was too infuriating. Diodora even felt that living under the same sky as Dustless for a long time would reduce his lifespan by 100 years. Diodora, you are not welcome here. Please leave immediately. Riaz walked over quickly with an unfriendly look on her face. She was extremely furious. This guy was clearly not Dustless' strength, but he still came to provoke her. He really did not know how to spell the word death. You too. Diodora's face turned green. Riaz and Dustless were in cahoots. This overpowered combination was invincible. In the future, Diodora's voice suddenly stopped. His gaze passed through the sea of people and landed on Sazax and the others who were rushing over from afar. A scheme instantly formed in his mind. This time, I will definitely kill you. With a perfect plan in mind, Diodora's eyes turned green. He stopped bickering with Dustless and turned to look at Isha, who was talking and laughing. I can't win against the two of you, but I can still easily take her down. Diodora locked onto Isha with evil intentions and turned into a venomous snake as he pounced. You have a death wish. Seeing this, Riaz and Dustless's eyes flashed coldly. Both of them were enraged by Diodora's shamelessness. He was a typical B***starred who bullied the weak but feared the anger. If I can't get you after so much scheming, then I might as well use force. After all, you already know my true nature. There is no need to continue hiding anything. Pulling off his gorgeous and hypocritical exterior, Diodora revealed his ugly and ferocious nature. Just as he was about to reach Isha, a gorgeous flash suddenly entered his eyes and stopped behind Isha, blocking Diodora's wolf paw. How dare you touch my people? You have some guts. Raising his bright golden foot, Dustless aimed at Diodora's face and kicked out mercilessly. Lightspeed kick. The straight beam of destruction mercilessly blasted into Diodora's head. So strong. Theodora's pupils suddenly shrank, but a smile of having succeeded in her scheme flashed in her heart. He then cast a defensive magic array on himself to block the kick. Caw caw caw. Even so, after a few seconds of stalemate, the dazzling magic circle was finally extinguished, torn apart by the powerful force of the lightspeed kick. Boom boom boom. In the end, tragedy still befell Theodora. The dazzling light engulfed her and sent her flying. However, as the magic array had blocked most of the impact just now, the force that hit Diodora's body was only 20% or 20% of its original power. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Bang bang bang. Theodora was sent flying backward like a cannonball. She flew back 100 meters and headed straight for the entrance of the villa. Ha ha ha, Theodora, who was sent flying, suddenly let out a hoarse laugh, which was puzzling. Could it be that this despicable fellow did this on purpose? His goal is to cause a conflict between Dustless and the Demon King. Does this B***starred know the consequences of doing this? Riaz was furious. She vaguely understood what Theodora was planning. Looking over, in the direction where Theodora was sent flying, a few high-ranking figures were walking over with smiles. This kid. I couldn't tell. He's very sinister. I was actually tricked by him. He's quite smart. Dustless smiled indifferently. He was not afraid even if he had to fight with the Demon King. Boom boom boom. The wall at the entrance of the villa was smashed by Diodora. The entire villa trembled, and a large amount of dust fell off. Diodora was stuck in the wall, half dead. She only had a weak breath left to breathe. Unfortunately, the few people standing beside Theodora were Sazax and the other Demon Kings. Seeing such a scene, everyone held their breath. This was a banquet hosted by the Demon King. Anyone who dared to cause trouble in public must have 8 heads. Especially when the person being beaten was a relative of the Demon King, and the Demon King was present. This person who dared to hit someone must be tired of living. Who did this? How dare they? The scene was oppressive for a few seconds. Then, the powerful roar of the explosion brushed past everyone's ears. Everyone took a few steps back in fear, for fear of being caught in the crossfire. At the same time, they looked at Dustless at the same time. Without a doubt, the culprit was him. How dare you cause trouble at such an important banquet? The person who shouted seemed to be a guard of the Demon King's. The way he bared his teeth gave people the feeling that he was a dog threatening to bully others. This is bad. Riaz frowned. Her hair was already dripping with sweat. She secretly clenched her fists and thought of a solution. There's no need to worry. Dustless strolled over, looking very relaxed. Idiot, do you know how big of a mess you've made? Riaz's tone was rarely stern. She gave Dustless a look and said, do you see that green-haired man? He's a Chukka Astaroth, one of the 4 demon kings who is now Beelzebub. The Theodora you sent flying also has the surname Astaroth. I see. That means that Kid and the current demon king Achukka Astaroth are from the same family, Wuching said in realization. Riaz nodded heavily. Just the thought of beating up a demon king's family member in front of the demon king sent chills down her spine. Gulp. Everyone was choking, and the scene was silent. Perhaps some terrifying major event was about to happen. Chapter 1383. How dare he? How dare he? How dare he? That was the only thing left in Diodora's mind. She originally thought that Dustless would lower his head and admit his guilt, but now it seemed like it was just his wishful thinking. Not only would this guy not admit his guilt, but he would also provoke the Demon King regardless of the consequences. Are you saying that I'm sick? Blue veins suddenly appeared on his forehead as Demon King Ashukka Astalot flew into a rage. He originally wanted to make a big issue into a small one, but this guy didn't give him any face at all and insisted on making a big issue out of a small issue. You didn't hear wrong. Dustless replied with a smile. He said in a very serious tone. Boom boom boom. However, the moment Dustless finished speaking, a soaring aura suddenly erupted like a hurricane sweeping across the entire venue. The young demons with strength and status were all pressed to the ground. They were all sweating profusely and didn't even realize that their clothes were wet. They were cursing Dustless in their hearts. Even if you want to die, don't drag us down with you. Ashukka, calm down. He's still young and doesn't know the rules. It wasn't just the younger generation of demons. Even Sakraz and the others standing beside Achukka didn't expect him to suddenly attack and were forced to retreat by his violent aura. You think you can do whatever you want after killing Loki? Ashukka locked his gaze on Dustless and didn't hide his killing intent at all. Hearing that, Dustless sneered and retorted disapprovingly, you think you can do whatever you want just because you're the Demon King? I'm sorry to tell you that your laughable identity doesn't have the slightest deterrence in front of me. Good, good, good. He clenched his teeth and said, good, 3 times. It was enough to show how angry Ashukka was. If you want to fight, just come at me. Dustless said casually as he hooked his finger. The people in the venue only felt a small part of the aura. Most of Ashukka's aura deterrence landed on Dustless. However, what was frightening was that this guy was completely fine. He completely turned a deaf ear to the Demon King's aura as if it didn't exist. Hurry up and kill him. Diodora was extremely excited. She was waiting for Dustless to be beaten up miserably. Otherwise, his hatred of being disfigured by Dustless's kick would be too unjust. This guy, although Achukka had unleashed all of his aura, he did not dare to make a move. Everyone frowned. Lord Sazax, should we assist Lord Achukka in capturing Dustless? Even though it was just as Dustless had said, he was a human and had no right to abide by the rules of the demon world. After all, he was not a demon, but everyone understood the principle of, when in Rome do as the Romans do. Moreover, Dustless had offended one of the 4 giants of the demon world. Let's wait and see for now. This is really interesting. Sazax waved his hand, a surprised smile on his face. He lowered his head and chose not to help either side. Interesting? Gulifia was speechless. If there was a civil war in the demon world, the impact would be no less than the sky being pierced. When that happened, the 3 major forces and some people from the disaster group might take advantage of the situation and rise up. The tragic war of the past few hundred years might start again, and the negative impact would be incomparably fatal. Huh, Sazax smiled faintly and glanced at the gloomy demon King Achuka. He then whispered to Gulifia, "Can't you see? It's not that Achuka doesn't want to make a move, but his opponent is too terrifying. Achuka is afraid to act, so he doesn't dare to make a move." Gulifia could not help but look at Dustless. She saw that he was calm and unaffected by the Demon King's aura. The entire ground was crushed by Achuka's aura, and only the area where Dustless was standing was unaffected. In fact, this explained everything. In fact, this sudden duel had started from the moment Achuka released his aura. It was just that Achuka, who did not receive the results of the battle, was a little afraid of Dustless. On the contrary, Dustless had not counterattacked until now. Interesting. The fallen angel Athaziel, the archangel Michael, and the main god Odin were all very interested. They had different attitudes towards the grudge between Dustless and Achuka. In their eyes, the one who provoked Achuka was Diodora. Not to mention disfigurement, even if Achuka killed him, he deserved it. Provoking the strong had to pay the price. Without enough strength, angering a creature of a higher dimension, what was this if not an idiot? Even if he was killed, he had only himself to blame. "If you don't make a move, I will." With a sneer, Dustless made the first move. His body whistled out, his hand clenched into a fist, and his skin instantly became dark and filled with an invincible sharpness. Armament hockey hardening. "Humph, I'm the Demon King, do you think I'm afraid of you?" Achuka snorted, feeling that he was being underestimated. Dustless chose to fight him hand to hand. Wasn't this underestimating him? No, this was simply looking down on him. Angered, Demon King Achuka also clenched his hand into a fist and smashed towards Dustless. Bang bang bang. The dull impact swept out, and the eruption of the blast directly destroyed the villa. Everyone thought that Dustless would be killed. After all, the opponent was a Demon King. But the result was the opposite. The black shadow that was thrown out was Demon King Achuka. Caw caw caw. The crisp sound was creepy, and Achuka's face was pale. The powerful force destroyed the bones in his arm, and the power of both sides was almost one-sided. Chapter 1384. Caw caw caw. Demon King Achuka Astaroth was so angry that his bones were cracking. He did not expect his friends who called him brothers to be silent at this moment. What did this mean? It meant that Sazax and the others had tacitly agreed that Dustless had taken his position as the Demon King. Ah. Don't stare at the 3 of us so fiercely. To put it bluntly, this is a matter between you demons and has nothing to do with the fallen angels. Demon King Achuka, I will not participate in your struggle. By the way, I would like to express my personal opinion. Survival of the fittest, this is the law that has not changed since ancient times. Asashel shrugged. On the surface, he seemed to be ignoring himself, but in reality, he was quietly expressing his position. The hidden meaning was that whoever was stronger would be more suitable to be the Demon King. This has nothing to do with us angels. The internal problems of the demons should be solved by our own people. If other forces participate, it will be used against us. Archangel Michael also decisively distanced himself from this. Young people nowadays are really competitive. But Asashel and Michael are right. This is indeed not a problem that we can interfere with. Stroking his beard, Odin had a strange look on his face, indicating that he would not interfere. You guys, at this point, Demon King Achuka knew that he had been abandoned. They all thought that Dustless had a better future than him, so he was abandoned. If it had been an ordinary person, he would have been suppressed by the gods and demon kings. Dustless was special. This was the benefit of being strong, being able to influence the will of others. Even Achuka and Sazax were silent, not to mention fence-sitters like Asashel and the others. Their eyes were changing back and forth as if they were plotting something. This made Demon King Achuka feel a sense of betrayal and anger. You fence-sitters think that this guy is stronger than me? He is more suitable to be the Demon King than me? Demon King Achuka, who had nowhere to vent his anger, roared angrily. His face was red and his ferocious appearance was as if he was possessed by an evil spirit. You are mistaken. This is not a matter of suitability. Every world is a place where the strong preys on the weak. It is only a matter of time before those who are not strong enough are eliminated. Dustless was not surprised by the reaction of Sazax and the others. He had even guessed it. The demons were ruled by the 4 great demon kings, and the strongest of the 4 was probably Sazax. Now, under the threat of calamity, and an alliance with the fallen angels, and the Norse mythological system, such an unprecedented superpower would definitely be able to ignore all enemies. But when the leader of the disaster cluster, the infinite dragon god Orpheus, surfaced, it meant danger. There was no one who could match him at all. Only the Great Red could be on par with Orpheus. But would the Great Red help them? Obviously not. Therefore, they needed a powerful person to appear, and Dustless was the best choice. Whether it was when he killed Loki, or when he killed Fenrir, or now when he was facing Demon King Achuka, he had shown unparalleled strength. Although Sazax and Demon King Achuka were close friends, for the safety of the underworld, between his close friends and the survival of the entire underworld, he decisively chose the latter. Therefore, the scale of victory was tilted toward Dustless. It seems that this guy will naturally take the position of Demon King. Seraph glanced at the few of them and sighed in her heart. She was afraid that as long as he defeated the current Demon King, Achuka Osteroth, Dustless would rise to the top and replace him. This matter did not originate from Achuka. The initiator was his stupid, self-righteous junior, Theodora. The strength you have shown now is not enough to defeat me. I am not Loki, and I will not repeat the same mistake. Demon King Achuka silently guarded everything and chose to swallow it in his stomach. So what if he was unhappy? Was it possible to start a war with the other 3 demon kings, as well as Archangel Michael, Asashel, and Odin? Of course, that was impossible. He would die faster if he did. Stupid thing, you've already been surrounded. Dustless said inexplicably as the Rinnegan in his left eye rippled faintly. Looking at the entire sky, there were only Dustless and the others. There were no other reinforcements. Ha ha ha. I am surrounded. Compared to the Demon King, I think you are more suitable to be a fantasist. How about this? Bang bang bang. Before Achuka's voice fell, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His face suddenly became extremely pale, and his body was smashed from the sky to the ground. Boom boom boom. He lay miserably in the deep pit, with an obvious fist mark on his abdomen. The lower limit of Achuka's chest was hit. How did he do it? Did any of you see him do it? Asashel exclaimed in disbelief. Dustless didn't move at all. Sorry, I didn't either. Sazax and the others shook their heads, with a hint of melancholy on their faces. They, the so-called demon kings and gods, couldn't even see when Dustless made his move. They were too incompetent. It's over when I say it's over. Dustless's feet landed on the ground. His shadows had surrounded Achuka and could kill him with one order. This technique was one of Dustless's signature ninjutsu, Tomb of Reincarnation, Border Prison. Only those who had the 6 paths senjutsu, or those who had the same eyes as Dustless, could see the existence of shadows. There was no doubt that this world was equivalent to an invincible existence. No one could see the shadows clearly. The shadows produced by Tomb of Reincarnation, border prison, could only be beaten. Chapter 1385. No sense of responsibility? Perhaps, but becoming a demon king by accident was just an accident in the first place. He was unfamiliar with the demon king class, and at the same time, he wasn't interested in it. The hard work of being a demon king should be left to Sazax. Go and call Gulifia over. I have something for her. Dustless suddenly said in a deep voice. You really know how to order people around. Black Song of Deshang pursed her lips. Although she was dissatisfied, she did not refuse. Dustless was indeed her boss, and she would definitely obey Dustless's orders. Tap, 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 after jogging for a while, Black Song of Deshang disappeared. Buzz, 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 at the same time, as soon as Black Song of Deshang left, the space around them rippled like water. Peeping again? The corner of Dustless's mouth twitched. He thought of a certain loli with unique interests and said with a gloomy expression, Infinite Dragon God Orpheus. Peeping is not something a dragon god should do. She had peeped on him when he was having sex in the past. Now, he could not ignore her. You can actually find me? But it's normal if it's you. A crisp and sweet voice entered his ears. Then, a crack appeared in the void, and a girl in a gothic loli costume stepped out from it. Her dark eyes were shining brightly like black agates. She stared at the naked Wuchen indifferently, and her expression didn't regard him as an outsider. Dustless was speechless. You perverted dragon, at least be a little shy. Don't act so matter-of-factly. What's the matter? Dustless frowned. He did not have any deep grudges with Orpheus. Especially after taming the Great Red, Orpheus favored him more. Nothing. There was no bullying in her calm tone. Orpheus always had this kind of calm tone, as if nothing had anything to do with her. Then why are you looking for me, especially in this kind of situation? Dustless said gloomily. He then began to put on his clothes. You're leaving? Orpheus asked. There was a rare ripple in his calm tone. I believe that you and the Great Red should understand that this world is not my beginning, and it is definitely not my end. Leaving is inevitable. Dustless put on his clothes and answered frankly. Orpheus remained silent. She knew that other than this world, there were many other worlds. Dustless was not a character from this world, because there was no such person in the various mythological systems. Otherwise, she and the Great Red would not have been reduced to legends and invincible. Why? Do you want to go to other worlds with me? You can go if you want. Dustless smiled. He had a good impression of this young female dragon. Although she was the boss of Calamity Orpheus, she was still a naive girl who was being used. Orpheus, who did not know anything about the world, did not understand anything. Really? Are you sure? The infinite dragon god Orpheus gently pursed his thin lips, and a bright light flashed across his bright eyes. He forced a smile on his face, as if he had finally heard the answer that he had been waiting for a long time. Of course. Dustless answered cheerfully. After all, there was no problem bringing Orpheus along. He would even have a free fighter. You must not lie to me. The infinite dragon god Orpheus warned as he waved his fist. That threatening fist seemed to be saying, if you dare to lie to me, I will definitely beat you to death. In reality, after the Great Red left, Orpheus was the only one left in this world. He was indeed very lonely. Being alone in the dimensional crevice where all life was forbidden, he would definitely die alone. Lord Dustless. At the same time, Gulifia also hurried over. She was stunned when she saw the infinite dragon god Orpheus, and her killing intent immediately turned cold. She was familiar with this Gulifia. Stop, he's one of us, Dustless said solemnly when he sensed Gulifia's mana seeping out of her body. One of us? She's the leader of the Calamity Orpheus, the infinite dragon god. She's also one of us? Gulifia retorted. The one in front of her was a demon, no, a great enemy of the entire world. I'm his bodyguard, not his enemy, Orpheus pointed at Dustless as she patted her lackluster cleavage and said seriously. Bodyguard? Dustless was speechless. He didn't think anyone could protect him, but he waved his hand and smiled. Gilifia, go and tell Sazax that the old demon king, boom boom boom. Before Wu Chen's voice fell, a violent tremor came from afar. Due to the strong force, the entire villa fell apart in an instant, waking up the few women who were sleeping soundly. Oh. Looks like I'm one step too late. They've already started the attack. Dustless stretched his back. He was sure that the old Demon King's people had ambushed this ongoing ranking game. That's fine. I'll get rid of all of you and then hand this broken world to Sazax. Through the window, he looked into the void in the distance. He could clearly see the hordes of black figures there. There were so many of them that it was impossible to count how many invaders there were. But in Dustless's eyes, no matter how many there were, it wouldn't change anything. This was destined to be a bloody massacre. The strength of the two sides was not equal at all. The White Dragon Emperor Wally is here too. If you're willing to keep a low profile and hide, I can spare your life. But you don't seem to understand the kindness of others. The silver figure roaming the horizon was arrogant and domineering. Like a god who ruled the heavens, he looked down at the chaotic underworld, his eyes sweeping around as if he was looking for Dustless. He was so arrogant that he didn't even care about the Demon Kings, as if they were insignificant characters not worth mentioning. Chapter 1386. The speed of light was simply too fast. Even a god would find it difficult to capture its trajectory, let alone the current White Dragon Emperor Wally. It might even be impossible. Therefore, it was inevitable that Wally, who could not keep up with Dustless's speed, could only take a beating. Lightspeed kick. Mercilessly, it all blasted into White Dragon Emperor Wally's face. The armor covering his face made a crisp ka sound, and then it burst open. All the bright beams of light blasted into his face. Boom boom boom. White Dragon Emperor Wally was mercilessly kicked down, and the ground was smashed into a shocking deep pit. His face was covered in blood and scorched marks as he lay in the pit. A single kick had left him half dead. Well, not bad, the hardness of the armor seems to have become stronger. No wonder you dare to invade the underworld and challenge me so arrogantly. But I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you before. The last time I fought you, it was not my full strength at all. Dustless, who was floating in the sky, said to himself. You bastard. White Dragon Emperor Wally stubbornly stood up and spat out a mouthful of blood. A few white teeth could be clearly seen. His face was sunken in, his nose was crooked, and there was a faintly discernible footprint on his face. Got it. There was a violent roar from the sky, and then the void above Dustless's head suddenly turned dark. It's you again. Looking up at the falling giant iron rod, Dustless frowned. Combined with the slightly familiar voice and the unique wishful steel rod, there seemed to be no other attacker except for the person who claimed to be the beautiful monkey. I didn't kill you last time because you had the value of a message. As for this time, please disappear. It's annoying to see an eyesore like you wandering around. High-density spiritual pressure erupted in his body, and the earth was under Dustless's control and began to tremble violently. A fiery red blade-shaped flame was clearly visible, and the remaining moisture in the air quickly evaporated as if it was the end of the world. Path of destruction, one blade cremation. The flame blade rose from the ground, and the invincible power directly swallowed Silver and the entire staff. So beautiful monkey disappeared together with his beloved weapon. Boom boom boom. The earth-shattering explosion swept through the sky, and the strong impact caused everyone to retreat again and again. The remnants of the monkey and the wishful staff were not left behind. Beautiful monkey is dead? White Dragon Emperor Wally said in a daze. His eyes were wide open, and he found it hard to accept this situation. It was just one move, how could it be so simple? It's not like he's a nobody. I've already said that the reason he was still alive the last time was because he was useful as a messenger. Now that he's useless and dares to provoke me, he'll definitely die. Dustless said in a matter-of-fact tone. Then, he looked at the White Dragon Emperor and said, "Don't worry, don't be sad. You have no more value. You will soon go to the underworld to continue your previous fate. There's no need to thank me. I'm just that kind of person." Dustless gathered a large amount of light in his hand. He coldly glanced at it and thousands of light bullets rained down. Yasakani no Magatama. Rays of light poured down like locusts, and Wally struggled to stand up. His eyes were filled with determination as he chanted an obscure and ancient incantation. It sounded quite extraordinary and solemn. I awaken. Bring the absolute law to the White Dragon Emperor of Darkness. Run through the dream of dawn with infinite destruction. Go to the tyrannical path. Become the Emperor of the Pure Dragon. Lead thou to the silver fantasy and the pinnacle of the demonic path. As soon as his voice fell, Wally's body emitted a bright light. His small body was enlarged without limit, and he became an unprecedented behemoth. Moreover, the magical fluctuation was unbelievably strong. Dustless was caught off guard and was sent flying. No wonder this guy is so confident. It turns out that he has entered this mode. It's worthy of praise. Dustless nodded slightly and gave a rare look of admiration. Wally soared in the sky, and the void was completely occupied by his huge body. What mode is this? Bursts of dragon roars that belonged to the ancient era resounded through the world. Looking up at the behemoth that occupied the void, everyone felt that they were extremely small and fragile like an hourglass. Wally didn't need to crush them. Just by slightly flapping his wings on both sides, he could easily destroy them. What a big lizard. In this mighty and solemn environment, extremely discordant ridicule came. White Dragon Emperor Wally's huge dragon eyes surged with gloomy murderous intent. He had paid a lot to enter this unique and powerful mode. And the initiator was this lawless and mischievous person in front of him. Does this guy look down on others? White Dragon Emperor Wally's huge dragon eyes looked down at Dustless, and his eyes flashed with dissatisfaction. Dustless's sloppy face obviously didn't take him seriously when he entered this new mode. He completely regarded him as a joke. The me in this state is completely different from the mode just now. You'd better be serious. Otherwise, I'll kill you in an instant. If that's the case, it'll be too boring. The humiliation you've brought me, I'll pay you back double. No. You've misunderstood. The one who should be worried is you, Wally. Shaking his finger, Dustless chuckled and immediately pointed to the depths of the void. The lazy white clouds seemed to have touched the heaven and earth, and instantly disappeared without a trace. The cloudless sky was incomparably dark in the blink of an eye, as if it had encountered a catastrophe. The whole world became oppressive dark. Chapter 1387. In the depths of the void, there were more than tens of millions of bright god gates that were falling ruthlessly. In addition, Wally was in the silver extreme Tyrannosaurus mode at this moment. His body was already huge, so he suddenly became the best target to attract firepower. Boom boom boom. Wally was not a pushover. He, who had experienced hundreds of battles, also noticed the bright god gates that were falling from the void. He controlled his huge body to avoid the bombardment of the bright god gates. However, the idea was good, but the reality was cruel. Dustless just sneered and made another hand gesture. Wally's body was like a magnetic field. Wherever he flew, the bright god gates would follow. Caw caw caw. Unable to evade, she was finally struck by the bright deity gate. The powerful force forced her to fall to the ground. The gorgeous silver armor on her body was covered in filth, and there were even some parts that were smashed into pieces. These damn things are so powerful. Wally's eyes narrowed. His expression was slightly gloomy as he stared at Dustless. He tried to stand up, but he was shocked to find that the magic power in his body was quickly dissipating. These redwood can absorb my magic power? Finally, Wally could no longer keep calm. His tone was raised by several notches. His body seemed to be full of countless holes. His magic power leaked out crazily, and more than half of it was absorbed in a dozen seconds. What would happen if a few minutes passed? He might even be squeezed into a dried husk. Ao. Wally resisted with all his strength, and his body exploded with superdimensional power. He came here today to find Dustless to completely end his relationship with him, not to stay here and make a fool of himself. Especially the audience who wanted to see him make a fool of himself was the person Wally hated the most, Dustless. Buzz buzz buzz. Wally's huge body rippled, and the surrounding space was distorted. Everything that came into contact with the ripples on Wally's body shrunk incredibly. White Dragon Emperor's domain. Wally raised his head and roared. The bright god gates that were binding his body also shrunk. The most important thing was that the force that suppressed Wally was getting smaller and smaller. The pressure on Wally was much less. Boom boom boom. The mighty and extraordinary dragon body burst out with unimaginable power. Wally finally tore apart the suppression of the bright god gate, and turned into a devastating and dazzling fluorescent light that swept into the sky. There's still some time before the moon falls. I should use this time to destroy the evil Dustless. That way, the meteorite might stop falling and the world will return to normal. Compared to the Dustless, the horror in Calamity Orb is too kind. White Dragon Emperor Wally said. No matter how crazy the people from the disaster group were, they wouldn't go to the extent of digging their own graves. However, Dustless, who prided himself on being righteous, did just that. Today, I will rid the world of evil and kill you, the most evil person in the world. Entering the silver Tyrannosaurus mode, Wally's limbs were almost identical to a dragon's. He stretched out his sharp claws and shrouded Dustless. White Dragon Emperor's domain. A wave of energy rippled, and the void within Varley's body that had stopped previously began to distort again. This special domain gradually expanded, 1 meter, 10 meters, 100 meters, 1,000 meters. The energy ripples endlessly spread, and Varley wanted to completely distort this dimension. Didn't I just slap his face a few times, trick Black Goo over, and kill Beautiful Monkey? That's all. I don't seem to have done anything outrageous. Dustless said helplessly, expressing his innocence. Leave it to me. I'm your bodyguard now. The infinite dragon god Orpheus took a step forward. Her cute little face was filled with calmness. She was directly affected by Wally's, White Dragon Emperor's domain, but her body was not affected at all. It was enough to prove the power of the infinite dragon god Orpheus. Even the White Dragon Emperor Rubian in his prime was no match for the infinite dragon god Orpheus. Sorry, I never like to let others deal with my enemies. Let me think about how to deal with him. Dustless's head turned. His left eye was the reincarnation Sharingan, and his right eye was the legendary Tensigan. The two completely different eyes looked particularly evil. Pa! After a moment of silence, Dustless snapped his fingers, and the corner of his mouth curled into a wicked smile. What is the most profound state of torturing a person? It's not to kill him directly. That's not interesting at all. The right choice is to make him suffer a fate worse than death. Then first, taking a deep breath, Dustless took out an ordinary-looking sphere from his hand. It didn't look powerful, but it shot out a high-density gravitational force that was enough to destroy the world. Dustless's expression turned cold, and he shouted, Chibaku Tensei. Ka ka ka. Just like the prelude to the Sun Destroyer, the moment the words, Chibaku Tensei, fell, boundless gravitational force shot down from the black sphere, changing the geological plates of the entire world. The earth was torn apart, the mountains were flattened, the sea was collapsing, and the playthings were wailing. It was as if the end of the world had really arrived. The laws of all things were all ineffective at this moment. The huge mountain floated upward, and everything was affected. "What's going on?" Wally exclaimed. His old face finally couldn't maintain his calm and confidence. The moment the gravitational force flashed, his White Dragon Emperor's domain was also affected and was easily torn apart. It was as simple as tearing a piece of paper. Not only that, his huge body also floated upward uncontrollably, and he was about to be sealed by the sphere. Chapter 1388. Gulu Gulu. Staring at the beautiful monkey who was slowly approaching him, Varley's old face changed color. He looked at Dustless with gloomy eyes and growled, "As a powerhouse, you should." Dustless interrupted Varley and asked with a smile, "Are you talking about the bearing of a powerhouse? How much is that kind of groundless bearing worth?" Boom boom boom. When Varley heard this sentence, his mind immediately became a mess. He felt as if he was struck by lightning. The impact of these words was even more serious than the series of violent beatings just now. Dustless's words implied that he would use all kinds of perverted means to deal with him. "I can dominate everything in this independent space, so let him be eunuch 10,000 times. Beautiful monkey, the glorious task of being castrated by your former subordinate, TSK, that must feel great," Dustless said with a cheeky smile. "You. Poochie." There was a bloodstain on the ground. Varley was so angry that he bled. He gritted his teeth and stared at Dustless in shock. He didn't expect this guy to come up with such a shameless idea. What's wrong with being eunuch 10,000 times? Glancing at the big scissors in the beautiful monkey's hand, Varley cursed in his heart. This was 10 times more serious than killing him. "Bastard, kill me if you have the guts." Varley's eyes bulged out as if they were about to pop out. "Aw, so scary. Beautiful monkey, hurry up and do it." Dustless pretended to be afraid and took a few steps back. He immediately waved his hand and ordered the beautiful monkey to execute Varley immediately. The beautiful monkey nodded and pounced on Varley with the big scissors. Even if he was eunuch 10,000 times, he could still grow it back after every time. After all, this was Dustless's space. In Tsukimi's space, the life and death were all under Dustless's control. "Ah, damn monkey, stop it." The miserable scream reached the sky, making people feel cold all over. Varley's miserable scream contained endless pain. That hysterical wail seemed to be regretting living in this world. Dustless had already disappeared from Tsukimi's space. Caw caw caw. The void outside was filled with wails. The fall of the moon had destroyed everyone's fighting spirit. In front of a planet, what could these small fries do? Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In the distant horizon, several sharp sounds of something breaking through the air could be heard. Looking up, a few weak black spots were rushing over at an incredible speed. Demon King, Leviathan, Seraphil? That guy seems to be another Demon King. Hearing this, Dustless's observation hockey swept across the world. He was surprised to find that Sazax had disappeared and he couldn't feel his magic fluctuations. He couldn't have really been killed, right? Recalling Wally's arrogant declaration, Dustless had a bad premonition. There was no doubt about Sazax's strength. He was 10 times stronger than the old Demon King. Dustless really did not believe that he would be killed by the people the old Demon King was filming. But now, his magic fluctuations had disappeared. So be it. This kind of thing doesn't matter anyway. Dustless shrugged, revealing a helpless expression. At worst, he could just use outer path, reincarnation, to resurrect. With Dustless's reincarnation Sharingan's pupil power, this wasn't difficult to do. Shoo shoo shoo. At the same time, Demon King Asmodeus and Demon King Leviathan both landed on both sides of Dustless. Their expressions were slightly embarrassed, especially Seraphil's right shirt, which was faintly bursting. "You two ran very fast. Are you really the current Demon King? How disappointing." An evil and arrogant voice came. At some point in time, several figures were standing in front of Dustless and the others. "You are," his pupils shrank. Dustless was surprised to find that he had some impression of this person. His expression was arrogant and his eyes were overbearing. People who were swept by him would shrink their necks as if they would lose their lives in the next second. "This guy is a bit similar to Wally," Dustless said in surprise. He estimated that this person was related to Wally Lucifer. His name is Lezoim Levi Lucifer. He is the grandfather of White Dragon Emperor Wally and also the old enemy of Sazax. Sazax was killed by him just now, Seraphil explained, her beautiful eyes dignified. At the same time, several powerhouses appeared beside Lezoim Levi Lucifer, and the Demon Kings of the old Demon Kings faction were also among them. "Ah. Is this the general mobilization of the villains? I have already advised Sazax to kill you, but he was moved by compassion. TSK. If he knew that you are now a traitor, he would not rest in peace." Dustless asked teasingly. The person standing on the left of Lezoim Levi Lucifer was the Demon King Achuka that he had beaten up a while ago. "But then again, are you sure that Sazax was really killed?" Dustless asked suspiciously. He felt that it was ridiculous. How could a Supreme Demon King be killed so easily? "I also heard this from Asmodeus. I don't know the specific situation at the time." Seraphil shook her head. Although she had a bad relationship with Dustless, they were already at the end of life and death. Hearing this, Dustless looked at the big guy who had been silent since just now. He felt that there was something wrong with this guy. With Sazax's strength, the probability of him being killed is 0. Even if he was surrounded by several powerhouses of the same level, he should be able to hold on for a while. Could it be? His pupils shrank. Dustless suddenly thought of a terrifying possibility. Pfft! It was also at this moment that a hole the size of a human head was made in Dustless's abdomen. Chapter 1389. Zenka no Tachi emitted a terrifying energy fluctuation. Any living creature could feel the aura of death. The blood in their body quickly evaporated, as if they would dry up at any time. Everyone, including Lezoim Levi Lucifer, felt uncomfortable. "You want to kill my underling? Do you have any respect for me?" Lezoim Levi Lucifer sneered and took the initiative to stand up. At the same time, he waved his hand and ordered all his subordinates to retreat. It seemed that he wanted to fight Dustless one-on-one. He had a confident smile on his face. "No matter what kind of artifact you are just asking for humiliation in front of me," Lezoim Levi Lucifer said arrogantly. However, Dustless ignored him and kept staring at Asmodeus. "Go to hell." His pupils turned. Dustless aimed at the residue at his feet and activated the eye power of Rinnegan. Heavenly hand power. After saying that, Dustless performed a shocking scene in front of everyone. His body quietly left. Even the trajectory of his movement could not be captured. Where is he? Where did he run to? That kid can't be scared, right? Who knows? But even if he ran, it's useless. Soon, we will gradually occupy the main world. That kid is just a stray dog. There is no need to bother with him. Let's discuss how to split the profits after we occupy the world in the future. These people completely ignored Dustless's existence. He was just a small character. If he ran away, then so be it. Damn coward. He didn't really run away, did he? Seeing this, Seraph's expression turned ugly. Although she was a demon king, there were several people on the opposite side who were at the same level as her. If Dustless patted his butt and left, she would only have a dead end. Seraphil expressed that she had not lived long enough and did not want to die. Phew, he finally left. The demon king who held the position of Asmodeus rejoiced. His tense heart also calmed down, expressing that he was under great pressure facing Dustless. However, just as he finished speaking, Dustless appeared and slapped his face. "Yo, what are you rejoicing about?" A demonic voice suddenly came from behind. Not only Asmodeus sucked in a breath of cold air, everyone else shivered. This guy was as silent as a ghost. Die. With that, Zenka no Tachi slashed at Asmodeus, its sharp edge piercing through his body. Boom boom boom. A violent explosion suddenly occurred between heaven and earth. Zenka no Tachi spewed out a large amount of high-density flames, and Asmodeus disappeared without a trace in a flash. Not even a speck of dust was left behind. It had been directly crushed by the explosive flames of remnant fire Tachi. Everything ended when it was swung. This was the most realistic portrayal of remnant fire Tachi. How is this possible? He instantly killed a Demon King player? Everyone rubbed their eyes, and after confirming that they weren't dizzy from old age, they were petrified. This wasn't the lowest level of trash demon, but a Demon King in name and in reality. Moreover, he belonged to the category of transcendence. The current Demon Kings were all stronger than the previous Demon Kings, but Dustless's simple appearance really refreshed their seriousness. It was as if he was cutting cabbage. Oh, no, even if he was cutting cabbage, there would still be movement. At the very least, you could hear the sound of kacha. But when Dustless swung his blade to cut the head of Asmodeus, there wasn't even a sound, directly killing him. Gulp. Everyone retreated one after another, taking the initiative to pull away from Dustless. This guy was really too frightening. His strength was at the limit of being able to shatter mountains with a flick of his finger. A bunch of useless trash. Seeing this, Lezavim Levy and Lucifer's old face twitched. Although he was also shocked by Dustless's means and was even more afraid of him than Sarzax Jimenez, Lezavim Levy and Lucifer also knew that he couldn't back down. If he, as the leader of the Calamity Squad, was afraid of Dustless, what could he expect from this group of shrimp soldiers and crab generals? Don't be afraid. We have more people. Beat him up like how we killed Sarzax just now. The helpless Lezavim Levy and Lucifer could only boost the morale. His tone was extremely bewitching as he shouted loudly, "Don't forget that we have the absolute advantage." Absolute advantage? Hearing this, Dustless smiled as if he was looking at an idiot. He pointed at White Dragon Emperor Wally, who was rolling on the ground. His whole body was twitching, and his painful expression made it seem as if he was neither alive nor dead. Useless trash, should have killed you back then. Letting you live now is simply my biggest mistake and failure. Lezavim Levy and Lucifer only felt that his lungs were about to explode from anger. While he was painstakingly trying to fool everyone, his grandson was wailing over there and tearing down his stage. And do you really think that you have the advantage in numbers? Dustless's words attracted everyone's attention. They saw that he was holding Remnant Flame Tachi, which was out of the ordinary. He was not in a hurry to attack, nor was he in a hurry to launch a sneak attack. Instead, he only stabbed Remnant Flame Tachi into the ground. Kacha! Instantly, the ground cracked open easily, and a huge hole appeared. The sharpness that could cut through iron like mud shocked everyone. What is he trying to do? Lezavim Levy and Lucifer's expression was so gloomy that it could drip water. He thought that with Sarzax dead, all the problems would be solved, and the leadership of the demons would be at his fingertips. Even the entire world would be under his control. Who would have thought that after he sent Sarzax away, an even more difficult cold-faced Yama would come and kill one of his generals in the blink of an eye? What an unlucky year. The corner of Lezavim Levy and Lucifer's mouth twitched. Chapter 1390. The group of villains shuddered as they looked at the charred Tachi in Dustless's hand in fear. This weapon was too abnormal. No matter where it hit, as long as it touched it, it would be vaporized. Not even a trace of their existence would be left behind, let alone bones. How did this guy get out of my sealing technique? Demon King Achuka's face darkened. His barrier magic formation was inexplicably torn apart, but none of them saw Dustless make a move. He had only blinked his eyes, and the barrier had shattered. Should we retreat? We're not his match at all. He alone can crush all of us. Chow Chow from the hero's faction is a good example. We're not as good as him. We'll die if we go up. The team of Disaster's camp immediately had doubts and discussed with each other. They didn't care about the livid demon King Achuka or their current boss, Lezoim Levian Lucifer. Which was more important, their lives or their boss? They decisively chose the former. These people were only here to get some benefits. If they could get some benefits, everything would be fine. But if their lives were threatened, especially for a super freak like Dustless, encountering such a strong and boundless enemy, it was better to give up early. 1/1 Demon King. Who wouldn't be afraid? Sure enough, you didn't let me down. Hearing the cowering team of Disaster's underlings, Seraphil's tense nerves finally relaxed. This motley crew was also a force to be reckoned with. But now, their confidence was shattered by Dustless. In fact, it wasn't just the team of Disaster that was afraid. Even Seraphil, who was also a demon king, felt a chill in her soul. Dustless's strength was too terrifying. To put it bluntly, killing a demon king was as easy as killing a chicken or a dog. Want to run? Hearing this, Dustless frowned, and a cold look flashed across his face. Being slapped in the face and remaining silent was not his style. Dustless was the true portrayal of Dustless. You're all going to die. Landing on the ground, Dustless was too lazy to talk nonsense. Even if there were tens of thousands of enemies, it was meaningless to him. Anyway, he didn't need to do it himself. Another ability of Zenka no Tachi could deal with it. Are you an idiot? Let them go. We are outnumbered. Seraph trotted over and tugged at the corner of Dustless's clothes, silently cursing him for being an idiot. Dustless didn't seem to understand this sentence. They outnumber us? We have fewer people and less power? That was just now, but it's different now. Wuchen smiled and patted Seraph's shoulder. The latter's face suddenly blushed like an apple. There were 2 cute crimson balls on her face. She cursed in her heart, this brat still dares to tease me. At the same time, Seraph also widened her eyes and curiously watched Dustless's performance. Crack. Dustless stabbed Zenka no Tachi into the ground, and the ground began to tremble as if it was water. If the number of people can determine victory or defeat, then we will definitely win this time. Dustless smiled with incomparable confidence. Dense ripples appeared on the ground, as if something was about to break out from the ground, causing everyone to feel uneasy. Those who have been killed by me. Now, wake up. Broken bones emerged from the ground, and Dustless finally shouted, Zenka no Tachi, south, fire 10 trillion death burial formation. Awoo. The moment his voice fell, the undead army of hundreds of millions of skeletons rose from the ground, and their deafening roars resounded through the sky. They all raised their weapons and charged toward the disaster squad. How is this possible? That guy can control the undead army? And such an exaggerated number. Oh right, I have something to do at home, so I'll leave in advance. My wife is his relative, so I'm retreating too. Damn that guy, is that guy the Grim Reaper? But even Hades doesn't have this ability. Why are you still talking nonsense? Do you want to be beaten to death? Hurry up and run. Hundreds of millions of skeletons chased after the invaders of the disaster squad. There were some super strong undead in the army, such as the captains that were killed in the Grim Reaper world. Aizen, Yawach, Jugram, Ulquiorra, and the captains that were killed by Dustless, including the former Knights of the Astral Cross, all turned into an army of skeletons to chase after the disaster squad. Fortunately, I've killed enough people in the past. Dustless said with a myriad of emotions. Most of the skeletons in the army were strong. You can't be the legendary god of Hades who controls death, right? Seraphil smiled bitterly, suddenly feeling that Dustless was too mysterious. Invincible abilities came one after another, especially with his casual appearance. It was very likely that he did not use his full strength. Grim Reaper? Hearing this, Dustless rolled his eyes. The Hades of this world seemed to be a skeleton. Have you seen a handsome Hades like me? That old guy is just a skeleton. You really can't be praised. Seraphil was speechless. She did not expect Dustless to be so narcissistic. Of course, it was undeniable that Dustless had the capital to be narcissistic. After all, his strength was there for all to see. You two are the last enemies. His line of sight fell on Demon King Achuka and Lezavim Levi Lucifer's head. Almost everyone else had collapsed. Only these two held a deep hatred for Dustless and continued to be in a stalemate. As for White Dragon Emperor Wally, he was already unconscious. He was unicated by his subordinates 10,000 times in the Tsukuyami world. He was probably traumatized for the rest of his life. Chapter 1391. The Demon King Achuka trembled all over and grimaced in pain. In order to carry out the plan perfectly, he deliberately suppressed his strength last time and lost, causing him to lose face. This time, he unleashed all his strength to turn the tables, but who would have thought that he would be even weaker than before? Achuka said that he couldn't even capture Dustless's movements. When he realized that Dustless had appeared, his heart had been crushed. How can you be so fast? Where did you come from? I've checked your background, and there's no god called Dustless in the Eastern and Western mythological systems. At this point, the Demon King Achuka also recognized the gap between them. It was just his wishful thinking to avenge his humiliation, and it was impossible to realize. I'm just an ordinary mortal. Retracting his arm, Dustless took the initiative to distance himself from the Demon King Achuka. He was also an ordinary human who had reached where he was today. There was no one who could reach the sky in one step and stand at the top of the pyramid looking down on all living things. However, even if I can't kill you, I must leave my mark on your body. The Demon King Achuka said with a determined expression. At least he had to let Dustless know that he had fought with an enemy called Achuka Astaroth and was injured. You have a lot of unrealistic ideas. Wu Chen had a headache. Sometimes it was really difficult to deal with this kind of lunatic who did things without thinking about the consequences. Even if they were forced into a desperate situation on the verge of death, they would still have the idea of perishing together with the enemy in the end. You want to self-destruct? Looking at Achuka calmly, Dustless said softly, you have a lot of magic power in your body gathered in your abdomen. I'm afraid you want to detonate your entire body and drag me down with you. What a crazy man. That's right. Hearing this, the Demon King Achuka admitted. Since he was already close to death, he might as well use the remaining time to create the most dazzling sparks. His body grew bigger and bigger, like a hydrogen balloon gradually occupying the entire sky. Not to mention attacking, he would explode if someone touched him slightly. Unfortunately, there's no chance. Dustless said softly, and at the same time, his eyes began to change. No chance? Get this straight. As long as you touch my body, even if it's just touching me with your hair, there might be an explosion that can destroy the world. Demon King Achuka said proudly. This was also one of his trump cards, a move that would take his enemy down with him. Farewell. Dustless didn't say anything. His eye power increased without limit, tearing apart the space beside Demon King Achuka. Divine might. Could it be that he wants to? Demon King Achuka's pupils constricted as he stared at the space within Shinwei. His entire body glowed. The chances of him taking revenge on Dustless after being thrown into that space were 0. I need to self-destruct as soon as possible. I already said it's too late. The godly might released a distorted gravitational force, and Demon King Achuka was instantly sucked in. It was too late for him to self-destruct, as the wound that was torn by the godly might had already healed. Bastard. In the cold, dark universe, Demon King Achuka screamed at the top of his lungs. He was frantically looking for a way out, but there was nothing he could do. As far as the universe was concerned, there was no way out. The only thing that awaited Demon King Achuka was death. You're the last enemy, right? He turned into a photon and floated to Seraph's side. He saw that Lezoim Levi Lucifer was fighting with Wally. He even chose to forget about Dustless and Seraph. After killing him, I'll have to leave this world. Dustless stretched his body and counted the only gains in this world. It seemed that there was only the Great Red, the psychic beast, and an additional bodyguard, the infinite dragon god, Orpheus. Boom! 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 The two figures clashed fiercely and fought fervently. They had really forgotten about Dustless and Seraph. I say, if the two of you fight like this, I don't know how many days it will take to determine the winner. Instead of wasting time like this, I have a good idea. Lezoim Levi Lucifer and Wally Lucifer both had extraordinary magic power. They could fight for 5 to 6 days without any problem. However, Dustless didn't have that much time to play with them. What idea do you have? Wally and Lezoim Levi Lucifer asked at the same time. It's very simple. Dustless smiled casually. He secretly had a huge energy fluctuation in his body, preparing a powerful move that could kill with one blow. I mean, don't waste your energy. You two should die together. After that, Dustless appeared beside the two of them at lightning speed, and his shining fist slammed into them. Armament hockey hardening. Lezoim Levi Lucifer was a veteran of many battles. Although Dustless was very fast, he didn't grow up without doing anything. Only White Dragon Emperor Wally was sent flying by Dustless. Poochie. The powerful fist was extraordinary. Wally, who was attacked, his chest instantly caved in, and his whole body was almost penetrated. Chapter 1392. Lezoim Levi Lucifer's eyes almost popped out. He stared at Dustless's fist with dread. It was covered with a shiny edge like steel. He secretly pondered, is this the fist of the giant clan? Go to hell, Wally. A lot of emerald light floated around his body. Dustless said coldly, Tensigan chakra mode. His whole body was suddenly wrapped in emerald mysterious chakra. Dustless's temperament was also different in an instant. His cold and emotionless eyes were like looking at insects. White Dragon Emperor's domain. Wally, who didn't give up, grabbed with his hand. The surrounding void was like the water surface, radiating waves of ripples, and was compressed again. Anyone who touched this power fluctuation was reduced to half of their original size, even the lifeless stones were no exception. Struggling before death, can't you just obediently go to heaven? Dustless shook his head gently and glanced at White Dragon Emperor Wally with pity. Then he clasped his hands, and a burst of chakra attack whistled out. Silver Will Reincarnation Explosion. A long tornado swept out, and the ground was easily penetrated. The violent wind speed even affected the change of the airflow. The weather was fine, but it inexplicably rained. Poochie. 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 The tornado swallowed Wally in the blink of an eye. He found that his armor was as fragile as paper. It would be torn apart when it touched the wind and waves. The heavy armor on his body was eroded in the blink of an eye. Poochie. The armor was all destroyed, and the one who was ravaged was Wally himself. After a while, a lot of blood seeped into the tornado, and Wally had been ravaged until only a white skeleton stained with blood and minced meat was left. Gulp. Even with Lezoim Levi Lucifer's experience, his eyes flashed with deep fear. This miserable way of dying was too cruel and vicious. Strike first and gain the upper hand. Lezoim Levi Lucifer's magic burst out. In between his movements, the magic light beams all over the sky went forward together with monstrous momentum. Asking for humiliation. Seeing this, Dustless was not afraid at all. He immediately took a more exaggerated move than Lezoim Levi Lucifer. This time, I must beat you until nothing is left. Dustless said coldly. He was already tired of this eyesore, so naturally, he wouldn't show mercy. The majestic natural chakra in his body was released in an instant. Dustless's eyes and eyebrows. A huge outline appeared behind him, Immortal art, Mokuton, true thousand hands. The giant's arms was the sky. Wu Chen, who was standing on top of his head, dragged the giant Buddha statue forward. Every time he moved, there would be a loud rumbling sound coming from the ground. Gulp. In all fairness, Lezoim Levi was really scared out of his wits by this behemoth. That unparalleled figure made even God his impression of the Great Red extremely small. Taking a step back, even if the monster had no attack power and was just an empty shell, it still had an unprecedented attack power. If the Buddha statue fell, it would probably be able to easily destroy a city, not to mention the thousands of fists. How insignificant. Dustless glanced at the incoming light and did not hide his contempt. He shouted, "Buddha transformation on top." Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Hundreds of punches flew out from the Buddha statue behind him. Their power and strength were unparalleled, and they easily dispersed the incoming magic beams. Bang bang bang. The shadow of the fist covered the sky, and wherever it went, magic beams would collapse and end. The void was like fireworks, with sparks flying in all directions. It was extremely beautiful. Let's retreat. Otherwise, I will die too. This guy is too scary. It's doubtful whether the Great Red will be able to take care of him. Lezoim Levi Lucifer said fearfully. It was not that he was afraid of death, but this kind of meaningless death, dying like cannon fodder, was hard for him to accept. Dying was not a problem, but he had to drag the enemy down with him. At least his death would be more valuable. He couldn't be killed by Dustless for no reason like now. That would be too tragic. Chapter 1393. You want to run? Do you think I don't exist? Dustless sneered again and again. He had been observing the changes in Lezoim Levi and Lucifer's expression. That expression of fear and wanting to escape, he saw it clearly. Go to hell. Sweeping away the remaining magic light in the sky, the giant Buddha statue turned around and charged towards Lezoim Levi's Lucifer. Kakaka. The ground under his feet shook violently. Lezoim Levi's Lucifer couldn't even stand still. His expression was extremely gloomy. Do you really want to kill me? Lezoim Levi's Lucifer asked in a hoarse voice. His fists were clenched so tight that his veins were popping out. Every strong person had their last trump card, but it could only be used in a desperate situation. Every trump card that was used was one less trump card. That was why most of the strong people didn't want to fight to the death. After all, not everyone was like Dustless, who had all kinds of overpowered abilities and powerful moves. Is there any use in saying this now? A few hundred meters in the sky, Dustless stepped on the Buddha statue. His tone was calm and his eyes were emotionless. Anyone could see the faint murderous intent in his eyes. Damn brat. Hearing Dustless's answer, Lezoim Levi's Lucifer roared. His body turned into a purple light and fled. He knew that resisting Dustless would lead to an early death, but he still wanted to die. That was an idiotic behavior. You still want to run at this point? Dustless shook his head. He was about to leave, so he couldn't let go of this big trouble. Suddenly, a few emerald balls floated behind him. They were similar to the truth-seeking jade. All of them gathered in Dustless's palm. In the end, as if they were melted, they were all compressed into Dustless's right hand. A faint golden light could be seen floating. Idiot, you still want to kill me from so far away? Ha ha ha, incurable idiot. Lezoim Levi's Lucifer laughed crazily. His words were filled with endless joy. His ability to escape was used to the extreme. Almost in the blink of an eye, he pulled a distance of tens of kilometers away from Dustless. Run as fast as you can. It's a good opportunity to test the effects of this spell on an enemy from such a long distance. Dustless stood still, and the light gathered in his hand was ready to be released. From his calm expression, it was not difficult to see that he was deliberately letting Lezoim Levi and Lucifer escape, hoping to use him to experiment on a certain spell. If Lezoim Lucifer knew about this, he would probably vomit blood again. The distance is far enough. It's about time to begin. Dustless raised his hand and stared at Lezoim Levi Lucifer, who was gradually disappearing from his eye sockets. He was determined to attack. Golden Will Reincarnation Explosion. The lightsaber extended endlessly. Just like Dustless's chakra, his lightsaber also had no end. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 1 meter, 100 meters, 1,000 meters, 10,000 meters, 100,000 meters, 1,000,000 meters. The golden lightsaber was invincible. Everything it touched was sharpened by the absolute power. Its momentum was extremely fierce. In the blink of an eye, it was close to Lezoim Levian Lucifer, who was frantically running away. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sound of something breaking through the air from behind made Lezoim Levian Lucifer terrified. He subconsciously turned his head, and the incomparably thick golden lightsaber filled his entire pupil. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sharp edge seemed to want to cut him in half. How is this possible? What kind of move is this? Does he want to cut the whole world apart? Lezoim Levian Lucifer's face was ugly. He had escaped so far, but who would have thought that Dustless would catch up in the blink of an eye? He was regretting his decision. How was this a battle? It was clearly a crushing of strength. I can't die here. I can still make a comeback. Lezoim Levian Lucifer roared crazily. He gathered high-density magic under his feet and stepped on the void. He covered a distance of more than 1,000 meters. Still want to run? Slightly raising his eyebrows, Dustless scolded him for being ignorant and ridiculous. Chakra rose rapidly like a rocket. In an instant, the golden lightsaber that stretched for millions of meters became faster. In a few breaths, it was already close to Dustless Lezoim Levian Lucifer. Poochie. The golden lightsaber swept across his body. There were obvious traces of blood on his abdomen. It hurts. Lezoim Levian Lucifer gritted his teeth in pain. He subconsciously looked at his body. No, it was not his body anymore. His lower body had been cut off by Dustless. Now, only his upper body was left. TSK, TSK. You can still not die like this. The vitality of a demon is really strong. He was still alive even after being cut in half. Even if it was just for a short while, it was enough to prove how strong and terrifying the vitality of a demon was. The only way to kill him instantly was to cut off his head. It's not that the life of a demon is strong. It's just that my strength is stronger than theirs. If it were other demons, even if they were demon kings, they would have been crushed by you in an instant. Staring at Dustless, who was rushing over in the form of a rainbow, Lezoim Levian Lucifer was calm. Perhaps it was because he was about to die, he was terrifyingly calm. You don't seem to be afraid in the slightest. Your calmness and composure are truly impressive. 7 to 8 meters away from Lezoim Levian Lucifer, photons flashed and instantly compressed into Dustless's body. A pair of bright eyes looked at him and gave him a look of admiration. Of course, because I still have to drag you down with me, so of course I'm very open-minded. Chapter 1394. It was said that Lezoim Levi Lucifer was unrepentant. Even if he was cut in half and only had half of his body left, he was still so arrogant. Especially with his confident tone, he was almost 100% sure that he could kill Dustless. Just based on your current state? Dustless had a headache. He had seen arrogant people before, but he had never seen someone so arrogant. He was already cut in half and only had half of his body left. Even in such a state, he still wanted to drag Dustless down with him. That's right. Staring at Dustless fearlessly, Lezoim Levi Lucifer made the final decision and said with hatred, "If you were willing to let me live, I wouldn't have fought with you. But you actually dared to cut me in half and make me lose face." Lezoim Levi Lucifer's eyes were blood red. Dustless's cruel actions made him lose all his prestige. As the leader of the Calamity Squad, how could he convince the others in the future? Cut you in half? Do you think this is the end? The best part is yet to come. Dustless sneered. He had killed countless people and tried all kinds of killing methods. Today, he might as well try them all on Lesavim Levi Lucifer's body. Although he only had half of his body left. Dustless slowly raised his right hand and pointed his thumb at Lesavim Levi Lucifer's right arm. Dense bright light gathered at the tip of his thumb. Laser shot. The straight light shot out and pierced towards Lesavim Levi Lucifer. He actually didn't run, perhaps he had seen through life and death. Lesavim Levi Lucifer stood still. His body was only faintly emitting a purple light and unbelievably slowly combusted. Poochie. Lesavim Levi Lucifer's face was as pale as snow. Smoke was coming out of his left shoulder. It seemed that it had been pierced through. Through the thumb-sized hole, one could see the sky on the other side. This guy, Dustless frowned tightly. Saying that Lesavim Levi Lucifer had seen through life and death, Dustless would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. How could an ambitious person give up life so easily? Especially Lesavim Levi Lucifer, who was determined to perish together with Dustless. It was impossible for him to die. He seems to be combusting his body. No, he seems to be burning his soul. Dustless stared at Levi Lucifer and felt that something was wrong. Ha! Are you scared? Ha! This is what you get for angering me. Lesavim Levi Lucifer laughed wildly and said, originally, this was used to deal with the Great Red, but you are at least on the same level as the Great Red, so the main character can only be changed to you. This is a super monster sealed in the Bible, at the cost of my soul. As if he could see the miserable state of Dustless's death, Lesavim Levi Lucifer's face twisted with laughter. Used to deal with the Great Red? Hearing this, Dustless instinctively thought of Samuel the Dragon Devourer, but he shook his head decisively. After all, he wasn't a dragon. Samuel the Dragon Devourer was only effective against the dragon race. He was the natural enemy of dragons, but to suppress Dustless was no different from a fool's dream. Could it be? With a flash of shrewdness in his eyes, Dustless suddenly remembered what Lesavim Levi Lucifer said just now. There was only one monster sealed in the Bible so far, Beast King 666. In the original work, Lesavim Levi Lucifer did use his soul to awaken the Beast King 666, but he was killed by Hyoto Issei in the end. No wonder you are so confident. With such a trump card, you can't be careless at all. Dustless patted his head and showed an expression of fear. But no matter how he tried to hide it, the anticipation that was exposed made Lesavim Levi Lucifer so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. That was the legendary Beast King 666, not some random person. At least, he should show an expression of fear. What's with this cheeky smile? Not serious at all. Buzz buzz buzz. At the same time, a large-scale magic circle appeared in the void. The range was as large as a few hundred meters. It was the first time Dustless saw such an exaggerated magic circle that covered the sky. Woo woo woo, a deafening roar came from the surface of the magic circle. The majestic roar was awe-inspiring, as if it was the ruler of the sky. Their ears were numb and they felt dizzy. The terrifying aura swept across the world. Anyone who felt the waves could not help but lower their head. They were inexplicably terrified. What the hell is that? Seraphil, who rushed over, was stunned. Her little face was pale, and her body involuntarily hid behind Dustless. Even if the super creature in the magic circle had not appeared yet, Seraphil was sure that this was an enemy beyond her knowledge. It seems to be called Beast King 666. It seems to be on the same level as the Great Red. Dustless lazily hugged his head with both hands and said without changing his expression. Beast King 666. On the same level as the Great Red? Seraphil staggered and almost fell. She looked at Dustless with a conflicted expression. If that was the case, the two of them should run away now and unite with other mythological systems and powerhouses of other forces. instead of looking at Dustless's expectant expression. What are you worried about? My bodyguard is enough to deal with him. Dustless waved his hand and patted Seraphal's shoulder. Bodyguard? Seraphal was stunned when she heard that. She subconsciously looked around. A black shadow just happened to pounce at her. It was so fast that Seraphal only felt a black wind blow past. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.